by profession, and I am a faculty at Lemery College's of Bachelor of Science in Customs Administration. So for this video, we are going to talk about Customs Jurisdiction and Control, or Section 300 to 306 of the CMTA, or the Customs Modernization and Tariff Act. So let's start with Title 3 of the RA 10863 of the CMTA, Chapter 1 entitled Customs Jurisdiction and Customs Control. What is jurisdiction? Jurisdiction comes from the Latin word juris, which means law, and dictio, which means declaration, which is the practical authority granted to a legal body to administer justice as defined by the kind of case and the location of the issue or its seat. Colloquially, it is used to refer to the geographical area to which such authority applies. The legal term refers only to the granted authority, not a geographical area. Section 300. Title is Customs Jurisdiction. For the effective implementation of this Act, the Bureau shall exercise jurisdiction over all seas within Philippine territory and all coast, ports, airports, harbors, bays, rivers, and inland waters, whether navigable or not from the sea, and any means of conveyance. The Bureau shall pursue imported goods and subject to seizure during its transport by land, water, and air, and shall exercise jurisdiction as may be necessary for the effective enforcement of this Act. When a vessel or aircraft becomes subject to seizure for violation of this Act, a pursuit of such vessel or aircraft, which began within the territorial waters or airspace, may continue beyond the same, and the vessel or aircraft may be seized in the high seas or international airspace. So what do we mean first by coast? Coast is the part of the land near the sea or the edge of the land. Orks is an inland town or city whose connection to the coast by a river or another body of water which enables it to act as a port. Okay? So for us to be able to understand it further, let us first check what is the mean or how does a coast looks like. Okay? So let us first
reporting for duty, sir.
For the image of a coast.
What would you have me do?
Okay.
Sir, yes, sir.
So the coast looks like this.
Sir, yes, sir. Executing your
The shape
orders,
is
sir.
it has a body of water and a
yes,
land
sir.
beside it.
Reporting for duty, sir. You got it,
So
sir.
that is
Sir,
what
yes,
a
sir.
coast looks like. So a port, this is an inland town or city whose connection to the coast or by the river or any other body of water enable it to act as a
Sir,
port.
yes, sir.
Okay.
Executing your orders, sir.
Next is airport. This is a complex of runways and buildings for the takeoff, landing, and maintenance of civil aircraft, which facilities for passengers.
Strike them down.
Harbor, a place on the coast where vessels may find shelter, especially one protected from rough waters like piers, jetties, and other artificial structures.
Executing your orders, sir.
Bays, a broad inlet of the sea where the land curves inward. Rivers, a large natural stream of water flowing in a channel to the sea, a lake or another such stream. Inland water, any of the waters as lake, canals, and rivers. Water courses, inlets, and bays within the territory of a state, as contrasted with the open seas or marginal waters bordering another state, subject to various sovereign rights of the bordering state. High seas, the open ocean, especially that with not within any country's jurisdiction. International space is the portion of the atmosphere controlled by a country above its territory, including its territorial waters, or more generally, any specific three-dimensional portion of the atmosphere. It is not the same as aerospace, which is the general term for its atmosphere and outer space in its system. Conveyance. Conveyance is a formal word that can mean either the transportation of something from one place to another, or the vehicle that does the transporting. Seizure, the action of capturing someone or something using force. Pursuit, the action of following or pursuing someone or something. So let's go back to section 300.
I shall see
So
to
section
it, sir.
300 is telling about at which extent shall the Bureau of Customs exercise its jurisdiction. Okay, so in this section it tells that the Bureau of Customs should have jurisdiction or authority over all seas within the Philippine territory. So all of the sea or body of water inside the Philippines will have authority over that, or they can control that particular part of the body of water or the seas inside the Philippines. And also they have the jurisdiction on the coast, ports, airports, harbors, bays, rivers, and inland waters, which says here whether navigable or not from the sea. It means that even though that it is not navigable or not from the sea by any means of conveyance or transport. For example, a vessel or a ship. So those still concludes the customs jurisdiction. Okay, and then it also says here, section 300, that the Bureau shall still pursue imported goods that are subject to seizure, meaning they should still follow the imported goods that are subject to seizure during its transport by land, water, and air. So for example, a certain commodity or a certain goods or article is subject to seizure, or it has violated any law in the Bureau of Customs, then it should be the authority of the Bureau of Customs to do something about that, or to follow that particular imported goods. Okay? So they also have a jurisdiction over that particular imported good. And also, they also have jurisdiction and control over the vessel or aircraft, which will be subject to seizure in case of violation of this act. And they can still follow that particular vessel or aircraft inside the territorial water of the Philippines up to the territorial water of the Philippines and also its airspace, and they can still follow the vessel or aircraft if they go as far as the high seas or the international airspace. So although the vessel or aircraft is already outside the Philippine territory, for example, they are already in the high seas or in the international airspace as what we have defined earlier, the Bureau of Customs still has the jurisdiction to follow or to seize or to arrest that particular vessel or aircraft who violated any laws in this act because they are given the jurisdiction to do that in section 300 of the CMTA. Title 3 of the RA 10863 of the Customs Modernization and Tariff Act, Chapter 1, entitled Customs Control. So first, let us study the meaning of control. So when we talk about control, it means power or authority to guide or manage. Okay. Section 301, titled Customs Control over Goods. So all goods, including means of transport, entering or leaving the customs territory, regardless of whether they are liable to duties and taxes, shall be subject to customs control to ensure compliance with this act. In the application of customs control, the Bureau shall employ audit-based controls and risk management systems, use automation to the fullest extent possible, and adopt a compliance measurement strategy to support risk management. The Bureau shall seek to cooperate and conclude mutual administrative assistance agreements with other customs administrations to enhance customs control. The Bureau shall consult, coordinate, and cooperate with other government regulatory agencies, fee zones authorities, and the customs stakeholders in general to enhance customs control. So for this section, let us first study the meaning of the word goods. So when we talk about goods, it shall refer to articles, wares, merchandise, and any other items which may include Philippine and foreign notes and coins. So meaning of note is money that is imported or exported beyond the allowable amounts prescribed by the law. And in this section, when we talk about Bureau, it means the Bureau of Customs. Okay, so section 301 is telling us that the Bureau of Customs has control over all the goods. Okay, and these goods includes the means of transport. For example, the goods is inside the vessel or is inside the aircraft. then
Cold, sir.
and it is entering or leaving the customs territory. Okay? Regardless whether or not they are liable to duties and taxes, all of these goods shall be subject to the customs control so that they would know that it will be following the
Objective secured.
the laws in the CMTA.
The cold
Okay?
to black.
So the Bureau of Customs should monitor the entrance and
You cold,
exit of the goods
See to it. You cold, sir.
to and from the
You
Philippines.
cold, sir. What now?
Okay? So in application of this control, they or the Bureau should employ audit-based control and risk management system. That means they should be using an automated system wherein they can see the entrance and clearance of vessel and aircraft and the goods that is inside of it to the fullest extent possible. Okay? And they should be adopting a compliance measurement strategy to support their risk management. So as of this moment, the Bureau of Customs is already automated. Okay, so they are already using online transactions or online monitoring of all the goods that are coming in and out of the Philippines. So as of this moment, they are already using the E2M system and also the selectivity system wherein they are checking whether the good is on green lane, yellow lane, or red lane.
We will serve.
Okay, so those topics
Standing ready.
will be discussed in the near future. The Bureau shall seek to cooperate and conclude mutual administrative assistance agreements with our customs administration and its customs control. So, Section 301 also tells us that the Bureau of Customs should be asking help from other government agencies for them to be able to perform their mandate at the most. Okay? Because the Bureau of Customs cannot work on by itself, and since there are a lot of commodities and goods that are subject to regulations by other government agencies, so it is a must that they ask help from them for the clearance of those particular goods, for them to be able to
Yes, sir.
fulfill
Reporting to duty.
and for them to be able to govern the particular good that is entering the country and to know whether or not they need
Yes,
permits
sir.
for them to be able to be cleared in the Bureau of Customs. Section 302, Enforcement of Port Regulation of the Bureau of Quarantine. Customs officials and employees shall cooperate with the quarantine authorities in the enforcement of the port quarantine regulations promulgated by the Bureau of Quarantine and shall give effect to the same insofar as connected with matters of shipping and navigation. So the Section 302 of the CMTA tells us that the Bureau of Customs should be asking help from the Bureau of Quarantine insofar as shipping and navigation is connected. So since we are working with the Bureau of Quarantine in connection with the clearance of the cargos, if ever they are safe to be entered into the Philippines or not. So it is their duty to know whether or not a certain commodity is safe to be to come into the Philippines or to be consumed by the Filipinos or any people here in the Philippines. So this mandate also follows the Section 301 of the CMTA that tells that the Bureau of Customs should be working with other government agencies. So Section 302 just focus on the relationship of the Bureau of Quarantine to the Bureau of Customs.
The cold to black green skins.
Section 303, Control over premises used for customs purposes. The Bureau shall for customs purposes have exclusive control, direction, and management of customs offices, facilities, warehouses, ports, airports, wharves, infrastructures, and other premises in the customs district in all cases without prejudice to the general police powers of the local government units or LGU, the Philippine Coast Guard, and the law enforcement agencies in the exercise of their respective functions. So Section 303 of the CMTA is just telling us that the Bureau of Customs has its control over those places outside its offices. So for example, there is a warehouse outside of the Bureau of Customs, then the Bureau of Customs still has control and authority over that particular place. Okay, so for example, a certain facility or port or airport or wharves is being used for the entrance and clearance of vessels or aircrafts, then the Bureau of Customs has control over those particular places. Okay, and when we talk about for customs purposes, it means that the Bureau of Customs should be able to do their mandates or their functions, like the proper collection of revenue and the prevention of smuggling. Customs districts in all cases without prejudice to the general police power of the LGU, Philippine Coast Guard, and law enforcement agencies in the exercise of their respective functions. Okay? So even any other customs districts or ports inside the Philippines, the Bureau of Customs has control over it, but they should be also aware that there is a local government unit in that particular place where that particular customs district is, and that they should also be following their protocols. Okay, so they should ask help from them, from the LGUs, the Philippine Coast Guard, and all the other law enforcement agencies such as the PNP in the exercise of their functions. Section 304. Power of the President to subject premises to customs jurisdiction. When public interest requires, the President may, by executive order, declare any public wharf, landing place, infrastructure, street, or land in any port of entry under the jurisdiction of the Bureau as may be necessary for customs purposes, and or to authorize a port or terminal operator to transfer overstaying cargoes in an inland depot or terminal. Okay, Section 304 is pertaining about the President of the Philippines. So the President that is being discussed in Section 304 is the President of the Philippines, who is given the power to subject any places under the jurisdiction of the Bureau of Customs when public interest requires. So when we talk about public interest, we are pertaining to the welfare or well-being of the general public and the society. Okay? And those places can be declared by the President to be used for customs purposes by creating an executive order, which is a rule or order that is issued by the President to an executive branch of the government and having the force of law. So that means executive orders is a law, and it should be followed by all the people that is affected by that particular executive order. Okay, and that includes any wharf or any landing place, infrastructure, street, or land in any port of entry. So when we talk about wharf, we are talking about a level quayside area to which a ship may be moored to load and unload. Okay, and when we talk about landing place, we are pertaining to a place where people or goods can be landed from a boat or ship. Okay, and when we talk about infrastructure, we are pertaining to the basic physical and organizational structures and facilities. So that means buildings, roads, power supplies needed for the operation of the society or enterprise. So those are the places that the President can convert into a place wherein the customs could have jurisdiction into. And those places should be in the port of entry. That means it is a harbor, border, town, or airport by which the people and goods may enter a country. So that is what Section 304 is telling us. And also, the President has the power to authorize a port or a terminal operator to transfer the overstaying cargo in an inland depot or terminal. When we talk about overstaying cargoes, we are pertaining to cargoes that has been in the pier or any places in a port of entry that is already staying outside of the stipulated storage storage schedule, or the time of storage for them to stay on that particular place has already lapsed, and it needs to be transferred in a different area, just like Section 304 is saying, in an inland depot or in another terminal. Section 305, trespass or obstruction of customs premises. No person shall enter or obstruct a customs office, warehouse, port, airport, wharf, or other premises under the control of the Bureau without prior authority, including the streets or alleys where these facilities are located. So Section 305 is telling us that there should be no one to enter or obstruct a customs office, warehouse, port, and any other places that is under the jurisdiction of the Bureau of Customs. So when we talk about trespass, it means the owner's land or property without permission. It means to enter the owner's land or property without permission. And when we talk about obstruction, we are pertaining to a thing that impedes or prevents passage or progress, an obstacle, or a blockage. So for example, a certain warehouse is subject to search. Okay? So, no person or not anyone should be able to prevent the Bureau from entering that particular warehouse. Okay? So, if a person or if the owner will be able to obstruct anyone from the Bureau of Customs to enter his or her warehouse to do a search of a certain commodity, okay, with a certain search warrant, then it will be unlawful for them to do that. Okay, they will be liable for a crime of violating Section 305 of the CMTA. Okay, so that is obstruction. But when we talk about trespass, for example, a certain warehouse was people tried to enter a certain warehouse without any permission from the people inside that particular warehouse or the owner of that warehouse, then it will be a violation of Section 305 of the CMTA. Okay? And also, when we are talking about this trespass and obstruction, it also includes the streets and the alleys where these facilities are located. So it is not only pertaining to the facilities itself, or for example, the warehouse or the customs office itself or the port or airport, but it also includes all the other streets or alleys that is located outside of that particular place.
Reporting for duty.
Okay, and lastly, Section 306, the title is Special Surveillance for the Protection of Customs Revenue and Prevention of Smuggling. The Bureau shall conduct surveillance on vessels or aircrafts entering Philippine territory and on imported goods entering the Customs Office, provided that the function of the Philippine Coast Guard to prevent and suppress the illegal entry of these goods, smuggling and other forms of customs fraud and violations of maritime law, and its proper surveillance of vessels entering or leaving Philippine territory, as provided in Republic Act 9993, otherwise known as the Philippine Coast Guard Law of 2009, shall continue to be enforced. Okay? So Section 306 is telling us about a special surveillance to protect the government revenue and also to prevent the smuggling. So the Bureau has been given the control and authority to do a surveillance, okay, or to do a search of a particular vessel or aircraft, or to follow a particular vessel or aircraft that is entering the Philippine territory with the intention to unload or with the intention to do importation. Okay? So, all the goods that is entering the Philippines should enter the customs office. That means the Bureau of Customs has all the authority over all the goods that is entering the Bureau of Customs. Okay, so for example, a vessel that is on the Philippine waters is subject for search. Okay, or for example, they have been reported that they are carrying a certain smuggled goods when they are still on the Philippine seas. Okay, so the vessel is on the Philippine seas yet and has not arrived at the ports yet. Okay, and then there is an alert order that that particular vessel is carrying smuggled goods. Then the Bureau of Customs can have the authority to conduct surveillance, okay? Provided further, as Section 306 is telling us, that they should be asking help from the Philippine Coast Guard, since the Philippine Coast Guard is the ones who has the authority also over the Philippine seas. Okay? So, it is just telling us, just like the Section 301 of the CMTA, that the Bureau of Customs should always ask help from any government agencies that has also the power to do the mandates that they have, or they do have the same function, because as what we all know, the Philippine Coast Guard also has the power to look over all the seas in the Philippines. Okay, so when there is a vessel that is subject for surveillance, then the Bureau of Customs should be asking help from the Philippine Coast Guard, okay, for that particular vessel to be searched. Okay, and since the Philippine Coast Guard also has a mandate to check if there is any violation of the maritime law, okay, that is the reason why they also have the power and authority and control to search or to survey that particular vessel under alert for a particular smuggling crime. Okay, so that is what Section 300 to 306 of the CMTA is telling us about. Okay, so since the Bureau of Customs is a government agency that has the function of collection of the proper government revenue and prevention and suppression of smuggling, then it is really their duty to have the control and authority over all the things that is coming in and out of the country, especially the vessels and aircrafts that are carrying the goods that are being imported from other countries. So it is their mandate and their control to make sure that these vessels and aircrafts are following the law of the Philippines regarding the customs and tariff, and that they are not committing any smuggling that may cause trouble into our country.
What would you have me do? Forward, you dogs, to victory! What would you have me do? I hear and I obey. Fire this out, and we see the steering line. You go south. To whatever you want.
Good afternoon and welcome to the first Bureau of Customs webinar entitled BOC Webinar on Customs Policies and Operations. I am one of your moderators, Dexter Buta Jr.
Adhering to the new normal. This webinar aims to address the issues and concerns affecting the performance of the BOC. This webinar shall also give an update on customs policies and operations that needs to be observed by every client transacting with the BOC system. And I'm Joe Doronillo.
Today's session has four main objectives. First is to spread awareness among the BOC stakeholders on customs programs. Second one is to address the issues and concerns on customs policies and regulations. Third is to better serve our stakeholders and meet their needs and expectations. And lastly, to generate inputs from our stakeholders in order to determine the operational effectiveness of the Bureau.
This afternoon, our well-rounded and respected speakers will discuss 6 topics, namely port operations, value reference system, selectivity system, E2M stabilization, customs accreditation, and fines and surcharges. These subjects will be discussed by a designated expert under the division concerned.
Formally welcome us. We are pleased to introduce to you the Bureau of Customs Assistant Commissioner and Head of Post-Clearance Audit Group. Please welcome Attorney Vincent Philip C. Maronilla.
Standing by.
Our friends and stakeholders to the Bureau of Customs webinar on customs policies and operations. Today, our two Deputy Commissioners, our Deputy Commissioner for Assessment and Operations and the Deputy Commissioner for Revenue Collection and Monitoring Group will brief you on the updates of our streamlined operations that affects our port operations and of course our policies on fines and surcharges. There will also be discussions on the Enhanced Value Reference Information System to be headed by our representative from the Import Assessment Service. Of course, the head of the account management, one of the heads of the account management office will also be discussing their updates and programs in terms of customs accreditation. Our chief IT personnel from the Management Information and Systems Technology Group will also be updating you on our programs in terms of E2M stabilization. So we'll be briefed about what the Bureau of Customs is doing in terms of maintaining and trying to stabilize our E2M system, our online systems during this very critical moment in our country's history. Lastly, our chief of the Risk Management Office will also be discussing with you the current selectivity system, especially the current color-coded system that has been adopted by the Bureau of Customs to address some of the issues and concerns of our valued stakeholders, especially in terms of examination, evaluation of your particular shipments. Without further delay, again, let me welcome you and thank you for joining us today. This will be a regular briefing and a regular webinar that the Bureau of Customs will be conducting to be able to keep our stakeholders and our friends updated on the developments of whatever it is that we're doing to improve our systems for the betterment of not just the Bureau of Customs but for the service of the government to our stakeholders and to the Filipino people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Assistant Commissioner, for that heartfelt and meaningful message. And now, we would like to inform our dear stakeholders regarding the guidelines to be observed during the webinar.
All our stakeholders attending this webinar and those who are watching us live can raise their questions and concerns via the Zoom chat box or Facebook Live comment section. We can accommodate up to a maximum of 3 questions per topic, and our open forum will be held after all presentations are done. But don't worry, because all unanswered questions will be collated and will be answered at the soonest possible time. For our first speaker to talk about port operations, we are pleased to introduce to you the Deputy Commissioner for Assessment and Operations Coordinating Group, Attorney Edward James Debuco.
Take me a moment.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today I will discuss with you port operations. This presentation includes the topics on average yard utilization of the ports of Davao, CDO, MCT, Cebu, Batangas, Subic, Port of Manila, and the MICP, covering the period of January to September 2020. The disposition of seized, abandoned, forfeited, and overstaying cargoes will also be discussed. Yard utilization is the ratio of number of storage slots or the number of containers on hand to the number of available slots or the terminal capacity. This bar graph shows the average yard utilization rate for the 7 ports covering the period of January to August 2020. For the said period, the Port of Manila had the highest average yard utilization with 65.52%, followed by the Manila International Container Port and MCD Cagayan de Oro with 60.75% and 53.48% respectively. Yard utilization rate in the major ports, especially in the Port of Manila and MICP, are being monitored and reported every day to ensure that we maintain the rate within global standard, which is not more than 70%. For the period of September 2020, the Port of Davao had the highest average yard utilization rate with 80.33%, followed by the Port of Manila and MICP with 69.93% and 66.86% respectively. Let's go now to disposition of seized, abandoned, forfeited, and overstaying cargoes. Pursuant to Executive Order Number 127, Series of 1987, the Assessment and Operations Coordinating Group, or AOCG, is mandated to monitor the disposal of seized, abandoned, forfeited, and overstaying cargoes in all ports. As of October 2, 2020, there are 4,344 overstaying containers in the ports. To expedite the immediate disposal of these cargoes, a series of memoranda were issued to all ports directing them to dispose the same. And every Monday, in the regular EXICOM meeting, reports are made as to the number of overstaying containers being disposed. The disposal does not only raise traditional revenue for the government, but also unclogs the ports of overstaying cargoes to ease container traffic. From January of this year up to date, we have already disposed 2,522 overstaying containers. What are the modes of disposition? They are by public auction, donation, official use of the Bureau, negotiated sale, re-exportation, destruction or condemnation, or turnover to proper government agencies. Under Section 4.2 of CAO 3-2020, goods subject to disposition can be disposed in any of the following manner. Public auction. Public auction is done within 30 calendar days after a 10-day notice, or in case of perishable goods, within 5 calendar days after a 3-day notice. Donation. Donation to another government agency upon approval of the Secretary of Finance, or donation to DSWD in case of goods suitable for shelter, foodstuffs, clothing materials, or medicines. Official use of the Bureau. Goods subject to disposition after approval of the Secretary of Finance, and goods which remain unsold after at least 2 public biddings may be declared for official use of the Bureau. Negotiated sale. Goods which remain unsold after at least 2 public biddings that are not suitable either for official use or donation may be sold through a negotiated sale subject to the approval of the Secretary of Finance and executed in the presence of a COA representative. Re-exportation. Government property of goods not disposed through the aforesaid manner, or of goods injurious to public health, may be re-exported. It shall be done pursuant to international agreements and treaties. Destruction or condemnation. Goods subject to disposition, such as restricted goods, which are highly dangerous to be kept or handled. Goods absolutely prohibited. Goods that are prohibited by law to be released. Goods that have no commercial value, and goods that are injurious to public health can be disposed through destruction or condemnation upon the order of the district collector. And lastly, turn over to proper government agencies. Turn over to proper government agencies as provided in Section 1146 and Section 1147 of the CMTA. It can be turned over to the Armed Forces of the Philippines, PAGCOR, PCSO, PDEA, or the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. This is the process flow chart of public auction. Goods shall be sold or otherwise disposed of at the port where the goods are located, unless the commissioner shall direct the transfer of the place of auction to another port. Notwithstanding the foregoing, jurisdiction over the disposition of the goods shall remain in the district that seized and forfeited the same. Registration in public bidding. Entities or persons interested to participate in every public auction must register with the port concerned and apply and comply with the following requirements. 1. Submission of a valid government ID. 2. Payment of non-refundable registration fee of 5,000 pesos and legal research fee of 50 pesos. And 3. clearance or registration from the concerned government agencies in case of regulated goods. For donation, all requests for donations shall be coursed through the Commissioner, the Action Cargo Disposal Monitoring Division, POS AOCG, then endorse the same to all ports for determination of the availability of the items requested for donation. If available, the port concerned verifies the actual condition of the goods. The draft deed of donation shall set forth the conditions, if any. The approval of the Secretary of Finance shall be secured. In cases concerning COVID-19 donations, approval of the Secretary of Finance is not required, and the donated goods shall be turned over directly to the Office of Civil Defense. Negotiated sale. The new Negotiated Sale Committee is headed by the Deputy Commissioner RCMG. The Negotiated Sale Committee conducts ocular inspection of the sale lots or items. It has the power to reject any or all offers or any part thereof and considers the offer or offers most advantageous to the interest of the government. The Negotiated Sale Committee has also the power, upon approval of the Commissioner, to recommend to the Secretary of Finance the acceptance of the offer or offers. Condemnation. Goods mentioned earlier, which are goods subject to disposition, such as restricted goods, which are highly dangerous to be kept or handled, goods absolutely prohibited, goods that have no commercial value, and goods that are injurious to public health, shall be condemned in the following manner. 1. Rendering. 2. Crushing. 3. Burning. 4. Breaking. 5. Shredding. And 6. Any other appropriate method. Upon receipt of the notice of finality of order of forfeiture or decree of abandonment, a detailed condemnation plan shall be prepared by the Auction and Cargo Disposal Division or equivalent unit of the port. The Condemnation Committee then evaluates and recommends to the District Collector the approval of the order of condemnation together with the name of the contractor who will perform the destruction. Interested contractors shall be accredited by the District Collector of the port, which shall be valid within 3 years from the date of accreditation. The applicant shall submit to the Accreditation Committee of the ports the requirements listed under Section 9.7 of CAO 3-2020. After the approval of the District Collector of the Order of Condemnation, a corresponding gate pass and notice of condemnation for the release of goods will be issued by the Chief ACDD to the chosen accredited contractor. Containers with goods for condemnation are now subjected to e-truck's GPS device on the way to the condemnation facility. Thank you.
We're under fire! You called, sir.
Thank you so much for that very informative session, DEPCOM Dibuco. Again, you can raise your questions via Zoom chat and FB Live comment section for the open forum after all the presentations. At this point, to discuss the BOC Value Reference System, I would like to introduce to you Mr. Romeo L. Lineses, COO5.
Big guns ready to fire!
Good morning, everyone. I am Romeo B. Lineses Jr. from the Imports and Assessment Service, and I am tasked today to discuss to you the Value Reference Information System.
We will serve.
On this topic, we will try to discuss or answer the following questions. Number 1, what is the EVRIS or the Enhanced Value Reference Information System? What are its key features? What are the enhancements? And most importantly, how does the EVRIS actually work? So what is the Enhanced Value Reference Information System or the EVRIS? The EVRIS is actually one of the customs modernization project of the Bureau of Customs, which aims to enhance the existing Value Reference Information System for it to be at par with internationally accepted standards. So as you can see on the screen, it was formally launched on August 17, 2020 by virtue of CMO 16-2 2020.
Challenge worthy
It was developed in collaboration with Web Fontaine Group for it to be specifically WTO compliant. And just to give a short background on the EVRIS or the Web Fontaine Group, actually the Web Fontaine Group is one of the leading experts on customs and trade facilitation projects, and they have already developed various successful customs and trade related projects worldwide. The EVRIS is a risk management tool that allows customs officers to determine possible undervaluation and or trade misinvoicing of imported goods. But the EVRIS is not just a risk management tool. So what makes EVRIS more than just a risk management tool? So we will try to discuss that on the succeeding slides. For the key features of the EVRIS, the first key feature is the automated flagging of potentially undervalued goods. The keyword here is automated, which means that the system itself automatically identifies if a shipment falls below the minimum range. This feature, the automated flagging of potentially undervalued goods, is the risk management functionality of the EVRIS. For the next key feature, the EVRIS now provides for a lookup table of identical and similar entries in compliance with the WTO Valuation Agreement and the CMTA. This functionality or key feature allows our assessment personnel the capability to apply the sequential methods of valuation, specifically under Method 2, or the transaction value of identical goods, and Method 3, the transaction value of similar goods. The next key feature is the availability of a specification code. So the specification codes are the coded product description list that is available to our declarant or the importer during the lodgement phase. Next, we have the scanning capability of the E2M. With the scanning capability, the examiner and appraiser can now attach import documents under the Attached Document tab of the E2M. And last but not the least, the EVRIS requires assessment personnel to indicate the valuation method used. Well, there is a mechanism in the E2M. Well, the EVRIS is actually integrated in the E2M. So there is a mechanism that mandates the examiner or the appraiser to indicate the appropriate methods of valuation used. So later on, I have an example on the last part of this presentation for us to better understand how the EVRIS works. For the legal basis of the EVRIS, it was embodied under Section 101 or the Declaration of Policy, subsections A and B, wherein it states that it is the policy of the state, specifically the mandate of the Bureau, to develop and implement programs for the continuous enhancement of customs systems and processes that will harmonize customs procedures. And letter B, to adopt clear and transparent customs rules, regulations, policies, and procedures consistent with international standards and customs best practices. As I mentioned on the previous slides, the EVRIS was developed specifically to be WTO compliant. For other countries, the EVRIS is actually synonymous to a national valuation database. And in fact, the National Valuation Database is internationally accepted practice used by several countries, including the ASEAN member states. And just this year, the ASEAN member states just issued an ASEAN Customs Valuation Guide, which signifies the approval of a national valuation database. Further, a certain provision or section of the ASEAN Customs Valuation Guide highlights that a modern customs verification technique includes the establishment of a price range parameters. And that price range parameters is essentially and practically the computerized program implemented by the Bureau of Customs or the EVRIS. So this implement the mandate of the Bureau under Section 101 to implement a modern customs system in conformity to international standards and best practices. For the last part, I will discuss to you the procedure in the use of the EVRIS. This is a diagram showing the step-by-step procedure or a manual on how the EVRIS actually works. The first step is when the importer lodges a goods declaration in the E2M. So the lodgement of the importer is through the Value Added Service Provider or the VASP. As mentioned as one of the key features of the EVRIS, there is now a product description list or product specification code. So this specification code is available to the importer during the lodgement phase. After that, it will now be for assignment of examiner through the GDVS or the Goods Declaration Verification System. Now, the EVRIS, as integrated in the customs system, now automatically identifies if the shipment falls below the minimum range. At this juncture, let us all assume that I am the customs examiner. So as a customs examiner, imagine that I have already retrieved an entry assigned to me through the GDVS. Once I retrieve the entry, the system will automatically tells me if there is a valuation hit, meaning the declared value falls below the minimum range. I will now explain to you the possible scenarios available to the examiner. For the first scenario, again, there is a valuation hit. As a customs examiner, I will not immediately upgrade the declared value just because there is a valuation hit. What I am required to do is to verify or check the documents presented by the importer. And in the event that there is reasonable doubt that exists or there is some lacking documents to support the declared value, then I will require the importer to submit it and inform the importer through the customer care portal system. Now, for the first scenario, assuming that the supporting documents were accepted, meaning all the documents are complete, all the documents are legitimate and authenticated. Therefore, the importer was able to substantiate the declared value. As an examiner, I can accept the declared value under method 1. So once I accepted the declared value under method 1, for the transaction value method, I will now input M1 in the box number 43 of the valuation method box in the SAT. So this signifies that I have accepted the declared value of the importer under the transaction value method. After that, it will now proceed to the customs appraiser for final assessment, then for payment, and eventually release of goods. Now we have the second scenario. Again, let us all assume that, again, there is a valuation hit. So as mentioned earlier, as a customs examiner, I will not immediately upgrade the declared value just because there is a hit or a valuation hit. What I am required to do again is to verify the documents presented. However, let us assume that upon review of the documents presented, the documents are all incomplete, the documents are not authenticated, or I found some illegitimate documents as submitted by the importer.
Only take me a moment.
In that case, I can now say that the importer failed to justify the acceptance of the declared value. So this means that the importer failed to establish that the declared value is indeed the price actually paid or payable. On that scenario, pursuant to Section 700 of the Customs Modernization and Tariff Act, if Method 1 or the transaction value method was rejected, we shall now proceed with the subsequent methods of valuation.
Objective secured.
Now,
I challenge
here's where the EVRIS goes into the picture, wherein as an added feature or functionality of the EVRIS, the examiner or the appraiser can now access a lookup table of identical and similar entries. So this allows the assessment personnel to apply the sequential application of the methods of valuation. So in the system, the examiner will just click an I button for him or for her to view the lookup table functionality of the EVRIS. So once the examiner already viewed the lookup table, he or she shall now select the values of identical or similar entries as substitute to the declared value, since method 1 is rejected.
I shall see to it personally.
After that, the examiner is also required to indicate method 2 if transaction value of identical goods is used, or method 3 if transaction value of similar goods is used. Then it will be forwarded to the customs appraiser for final assessment, then for payment and release of goods. So that ends the presentation. Thank you everyone for listening, and have a nice day.
Thank you so much, Sir Romeo, for sharing with us your knowledge on BOC Value Reference System. And now, to shed light on our selectivity system improvement, we are pleased to introduce to you the officer in charge for the Risk Management Office, Ms. Jemke Flor S. Sakar.
Faced the same challenge the Tau had faced on Cronus for generations.
Good afternoon,
Pushing the
everyone.
Orks back from
My
the
name is
deserts and
Jemke Flor
cities was
Sakar,
one thing.
currently the acting chief of the Risk Management Office. Allow me to present to you
Even
the
the legendary
selectivity
Tau
system
leader,
of the
Commander
Bureau of
Farsight,
Customs.
had failed to purge the Orc-infested swamps of the Green Coast.
With a continuous effort
Still, a
to
complete
use
purge
automation to
wasn't
the fullest
necessary to
extent
break
possible,
Orcuts.
the Bureau of
The
Customs
warlord had
recently
called
rolled
together
out
his
the
great
new
horde,
Universal
or
Risk
BAR,
Management
in the
System,
parlance of the
which is an
ancients.
enhanced
From a large
cargo
number of
selectivity
fractious
tool
clans and
for trade
tribes.
facilitation.
So long as
Last
the
week,
warlord led the
we
BAR
activated
to
the orange
victory,
lane feature
their
of the
clan's
said
loyalty
system,
was assured.
which is designated
With
for
enemies
X-ray
assailing them in
scanning,
their very
with the
homes,
aim to maximize the
discontent
use of
reared its head
non-intrusive
among the Orcs.
inspection
Secondary
through the newly
chieftains
installed
wondered
X-ray
if
machines,
they might
as well
not
as to
make better
utilize
warlords
the
than
memory-based
Orcs.
reasoning feature of the
With these
system
fissures
in
in the
flagging
BAR
high-risk
widening,
goods for
the
physical
Orcs' enemies
inspection.
struck.
Also,
They drove
to
deep
lessen
into the
human
Green
factor,
Coast,
the
hoping
orange
to
lane
eliminate
shall be
Orcs
activated
himself and
for the
plunge
purpose
the
of
horde into
delineation
infighting and
of
rebellion.
scanning and physical inspection,
Warlord
which are
Gorguts,
both under
the only
review
solution
from the
was
previous
to
lane
crush the
channels.
attackers
Now,
under
the
unrelenting
question
waves
probably
of
is,
Orc
how are
warriors.
risk levels identified? The chances of a cargo to be selected by the system to a certain color depends on many aggregate factors. Generally, these include the predictive risk coefficient, which is automatically calculated by the system, random selection, depending on the workload capacity of the works, fixed criteria, which focus on generalized risks, and specific criteria, which focus on targeted risks. All the rules and policies are translated into the system. The Universal Risk Management System automatically reads the customs declaration and through algorithm assigns the color lane, which cannot be altered or overwritten manually. Once the declaration is assessed, the risk score or weight, depending on the findings of the customs examiners or appraisers, will be fed back to the risk profiles, calculating the risk or confidence rate through memory-based reasoning. Also, System calculates the heat rates, which is critical for the review and recalibration of criteria. The next question would probably be, how do we ensure quality data fed into the system? So there are four important components to ensure effectiveness of the universal risk management system. The first one is, of course, the quality of data sources coming from all offices across the Bureau, partner agencies, and foreign counterparts. The efficacy of risk assessment on all the identified risks. The third one would be the feedback mechanism that keeps the dynamic recalibration of the selectivity criteria. And lastly, the holistic approach in effectively managing the risks. For data sources, the Bureau of Customs launched last October 2019 the use of cargo targeting system, a World Customs Organization enterprise solution, which will allow identification of high-risk shipments and facilitation of trade. This was implemented through Customs Memorandum Order number 48-2019. The Bureau is also strengthening the National Customs Enforcement Network, which is a system developed by the WCO as well, to assist customs administrations with the collection and storage of law enforcement information at national level, with the additional capacity or capability to exchange this information at regional and international levels. Through the adoption of the NCEN, administrations are able to manage information on all aspects of their law enforcement functions, including seizures, offenses, and suspected persons or business entities. And also the Data Sources Portal, which is developed by the Bureau through the MISTG to ensure pipeline of information from all sources to the Risk Management Office. Salient features of the said systems are the following. For the CTS, advanced profiling of shipments before their arrival at the Philippine ports by using the manifest submitted electronically by shipping lines and airlines, following mandated timelines for submission. Automated querying for efficient risk analysis and comprehensive data submitted by foreign carriers or their authorized agents that may be used for profiling, risk assessment, anti-terrorism, law enforcement, and other related purposes. For NCEN, expanded data sharing allows for information gathering on non-compliance and on non-compliant actors as key foundation for identifying effective actions to be taken in key risk areas. It also improves BOC's analytical capability in terms of targeted controls of shipments. For example, through the use of custom analytic rules enabling searches for specific criteria across all data stored in the application. Managed information, make it a complex tool, building the Bureau's capacity to conduct effective, risk-based, and intelligence-supported customs operations. And for the Data Sources Portal, this will be the data warehouse, or this will house all the data collected from all concerned BOC offices for sustainability. This is electronic submission of reports to ensure timely and relevant information and would secure data preservation. So we have currently ongoing development on the system that would make it capable of machine learning for link analysis. For risk assessment, it is the overall process of risk identification, risk analysis, risk evaluation, and prioritization. When risks are identified, it is not merely assigning it to a certain color and dictating inspection treatment, which unfortunately is a common misconception among those who do not have clear knowledge or or background in risk management. So these risks are assessed using the risk matrix, a tool for ranking and displaying risks by defining ranges for consequence and likelihood. So including the actors or responsible office to better resolve the issues. So it is also followed by the coordinated and economical application of resources to minimize, monitor, and control the probability or impact of unfortunate events, or to maximize the realization of opportunities. So, level of resolving the risks could be strategic, operational, or tactical. It is noteworthy to mention that risks can be mitigated at different levels. If operational, RMO can automatically translate it to the selectivity system. If there's policy issue or when processes are involved, it must be resolved strategically. Risks can also be mitigated through tactical approach, like relodgement controls, alert orders, and outside intelligence and enforcement operations. So through weighing and prioritization, rather than simply accepting risk or investing in a mitigation action, a framework based on choices of treat, transfer, terminate, or tolerate affords a deeper understanding of what could be gained or lost. So these choices present opportunities and consequences. Lastly, the available resources determine the threshold to support risk tolerance. Recently, Customs Special Order 44-2019 designated the Entry Processing Unit or the equivalent office as representatives for Regional Risk Management Offices, or the RMUs, or the Risk Management Units, for real-time coordination and reporting using online feedback forms to help RMO monitor the workload capacity, as well as to serve as an efficient communication platform to reach the concerns report. We have been intensifying the feedback mechanism to ensure the memory-based reasoning will be functioning properly, since it is dependent on the results of inspection fed back by the customs examiners and appraisers using fraud codes. So this will automatically calculate the confidence or risk rates of cargo. The regular evaluation of detections over selections helps in finding areas for improvement for creation and or evaluation of relevant laws, rules, regulations, and find better approach to assist traders in their compliance. So for a dynamic review of performance and continuous recalibration of the selectivity screens, a sustainable feedback mechanism is necessary to check how treatments are carried out in ascertaining threats and risks through a viable and efficient reporting system. So these two automated features of the Universal Risk Management System are vital for the monitoring and evaluation. The memory-based reasoning, or the risk prediction clusters, comprises a complete database of risk indicators for each individual cluster, which is automatically built upon examination results. These indicators, also called MBR variables, are used by the URM system to evaluate the level of risk associated to each declaration. Also, the hit rates, or the detection over selection, which the system of providing the correlation between which is the system of providing and the correlation between selection and detection, which is critical in increasing the batting average. This also aids decision makers in recalibrating selectivity rules or by formulating policies and programs to increase the effectiveness and efficiency of risk management system. Lastly, it is noteworthy to mention that risk management cannot be practiced in isolation. A Customs Risk Management Steering Committee, or the CRMSC, was created through CSO 22-2019 to ensure that every field in risk management, field operations, investigations, post-clearance, intelligence, tariff, valuation, and information technology is well represented through holistic decision-making, overseeing the risk management and cargo selectivity processes, assuring integrity of those processes, monitoring the productivity of risk management office, and securing that the processes are supported throughout the BOC, and most especially to have a risk management policy that is regularly reviewed and revised. CMO or Customs Memorandum Order 21-2020 or the Enhanced Cargo Selectivity System covered all the roles of each office in the implementation of risk management system, the operational provisions for setting and updating the selectivity screens, IT support systems, and lastly, the compliance program. So, this compliance program covers internal and external compliance for a sustainable and reliable automated process. Continuous monitoring and evaluation detects gaps that hinder the achievement of effective selectivity process. So, for this year, we have resolved 22 gaps for the first phase and will be resolving the 18 new gaps for the second phase. The CRMSC was also able to formulate 5 resolutions, including measures for COVID-19 situation, of course, and the latest would be the alignment of X-ray inspection prior assessment, which will be out soon, in order to be parallel with the implementation of Orange Lane. The IT solutions, which are the URMS, CTS, NSEN, and the BSP have been rolled out. And the improved risk management system was also part of the BOC's 10-point priority program for 2020, which is almost at full realization. URMS support activities or the action plans of the CRMSC collaborators and other collaborators are already 100% completed. And lastly, the completion of the awareness program to open the communication lines between BOC offices, partner agencies, stakeholders, and risk management office to further develop measures that will aid in strengthening the integrity of the selectivity system.
We're under fire! Yes, Skull's going right on.
Our target is to achieve an optimized continuous and Imperial risk management in 2022. This is a tough journey, but through the adoption of a holistic-based compliance management approach, optimal levels of both facilitation and control can be achieved.
Relocating.
So that would be all for the selectivity system. I hope I was able to give you a comprehensive overview of the customs risk management system as well. Thank you for listening. Good afternoon again.
Thank you, Ms. Jemke, for that very detailed presentation.
Relocating.
At this juncture, I would like to introduce to you the Acting Chief of the Prosecution and Litigation Division. Please welcome Attorney Julito Doria.
Standing by. Following orders. Standing by. They will quake at my
Good afternoon, everyone.
Tell your men to stay
I am Attorney Julito L. Doria, Acting Chief of the Prosecution and Litigation Division, Legal Service, and at the same time the Chairman of the Review Team under the Project Management Office. Today I will discuss the salient points of Customs Administrative Order 1-2020, also known as fines and surcharges for clerical errors, misdeclaration, misclassification, and undervaluation.
Relocating.
This administrative order implements the following provisions of the Customs Modernization and Tariff Act. Section 108, which provides for the penalties for inadvertent errors, and Section 1400, which covers misdeclaration, misclassification, undervaluation in goods declaration.
Sir, yes, sir.
So the coverage of this CAO includes all goods declaration for exportation or importation, and whether for consumption, warehousing, or admission.
Standing by.
The main objective of this policy is to ensure that goods are properly declared in accordance with the procedure and deter commission of small and inadvertent mistakes. In this way, the declarant will be more attentive and vigilant in the lodgement of goods declaration. Significantly, the general provisions of CAW 1-2020 covers these three broad subjects, namely fines for clerical error, imposition of 250% surcharge, and the imposition of 500% surcharge. First, we will discuss fines for clerical error in goods declaration. Under Section 4.1 of this CAW, a fine of 5,000 pesos shall be imposed by the collection district for every clerical error determined to have been committed in the covering goods declaration upon lodgement thereof. For purposes of the imposition of fine, an error is considered clerical when the same is inadvertent, provided that it is not attendant with fraud and not due to gross negligence. Relatively, inadvertent error refers to a mechanical, electronic, or clerical error committed unintentionally by the declarant, which occurred notwithstanding the maintenance of internal controls necessary to avoid such errors. This may include misspelling, incorrect input of data while drafting, copying, or transposing a document. The error contemplated is committed when there is an incorrect or erroneous input of data on the following: A. Consignee's name, importing vessel or aircraft, port of departure, port of destination, and date of arrival, number and or marks on packages, the quantity, the nature, and correct commodity description of the goods contained therein, value as set forth in the invoice and packing list, and such other information as may be required by rules and regulations. Under Section 107 of the CMTA, the declarant shall be responsible for the accuracy of the goods declaration. Thus, the declarant should be careful in accomplishing the goods declaration to avoid the imposition of fine. It should also be noted that under Section 4.2, the 5,000 peso fine shall be without prejudice to the imposition of additional fines or penalties for other inadvertent errors discovered in the goods declaration. Now we go to the imposition of 250% surcharge. Under Section 4.2, the 250% surcharge, in addition to the assessed duties, taxes, fees, and other charges, shall be imposed when the following are present: A. Where the resulting discrepancy in duties and taxes to be paid between what is legally determined upon assessment and what is declared arose from misdeclaration, misclassification, or undervaluation. And when the discrepancy in duty and taxes to be paid between what is legally determined upon assessment by the court and what is declared amounts to 10% or more. The surcharge equivalent to 250% of the duties and taxes shall be imposed in the following instances. As I have mentioned earlier, misdeclaration, undervaluation, and misclassification. Insofar as misdeclaration is concerned, it refers to the quantity of goods, the quality of goods, description of goods, the weight of goods, measurement of goods. Thus, it is imperative to define these terms so we could better understand the implications of each commission. First, what is misdeclaration? It refers to a false, untruthful, erroneous or inaccurate declaration as to quantity, quality, description, weight, or measurement of the goods, resulting in deficiency between the duty and tax that should have been paid and the duty and tax actually paid. On the other hand, misclassification refers to the use of insufficient or wrong description of the goods, or the use of erroneous tariff headings and subheadings, resulting in this deficiency between the tax and duty that should have been paid and the duty and tax actually paid. Undervaluation, on the other hand, refers to a situation when the declared value fails to disclose in full the price actually paid or payable, or any dutiable adjustment to the price actually paid or payable, or when an incorrect valuation method is used, or the valuation rules are not properly observed, resulting in a discrepancy in duty and tax to be paid between what is legally determined as correct value against the declared value. Lastly, we discussed the imposition of the 500% surcharge. A surcharge shall be imposed equivalent to 500% of the duties and taxes due when the misdeclaration, misclassification, or undervaluation is intentional or fraudulent. The imposition of the surcharge shall be in addition to the seizure of the subject shipment. How do we determine if the misdeclaration, misclassification, or undervaluation is considered intentional or fraudulent? It is when a false or altered document is submitted, false statements or information are knowingly made, or other similar instances. Additionally, Section 6 of this order discusses the principles of prima facie evidence of fraud. It is stated that in case of misdeclaration, misclassification, or undervaluation, a discrepancy amounting to more than 30% of the duty and tax to be paid between what is legally determined and what is declared shall constitute a prima facie evidence of fraud. For example, if the declared duties and taxes is 10,000 pesos, but after due examination of the import documents, the examiner found that the duties and taxes to be paid is 20,000 pesos. Clearly, there is a 100% discrepancy since the duties and taxes as found is double the amount of what is declared. What is the effect of this? As I mentioned earlier, aside from the seizure of the shipment, it will be subject to the imposition of 500% surcharge. Moving forward, the following are the instances where the imposition of any surcharge may not be applied. 1. When the discrepancy between the duty to be paid as legally determined upon assessment and what is declared is less than 10%. For example, the duties and taxes declared is 950 pesos, but the duties and taxes as found is 1,000 pesos. In this instance, there is only a 5% discrepancy. Thus, the imposition of surcharge will not be applied. Next, when the declared tariff heading is rejected in a formal customs dispute settlement process involving difficult or highly technical question of tariff classification, or when the tariff classification declaration relied on an official government ruling. To discuss, a difficult or highly technical question of tariff classification occurs when the goods are classifiable under more than one ASEAN Harmonized Tariff Nomenclature Chapter or AHTN chapter, heading or subheading, or the product description is not specifically provided for in the AHTN subheading or heading, and it will need the ruling of the Tariff Commission for its determination and resolution. Thus, although there is an erroneous declaration of tariff heading as ruled by the Tariff Commission, no surcharge shall be imposed since it went through a formal customs dispute settlement process. Next, when the declared value is rejected as a result of an official ruling or decision under the customs dispute settlement process involving difficult or highly technical question relating to applications of customs valuation rules. So to recapitulate, the first instance was technical question on classification, and this one involves difficult or highly technical question on valuation. And lastly, when the misdeclaration, misclassification, or undervaluation was subjected to timely amendment and was corrected prior to final assessment or examination of the goods pursuant to Section 408 of the CMTA. To briefly summarize, the imposition of fine in the amount of 5,000 pesos per error shall be made if the error committed is merely clerical or inadvertent. On the other hand, the 250% surcharge shall be applied when the error committed constitutes misdeclaration, misclassification, or undervaluation, and there is a resulting discrepancy in duty and tax to be paid between what is legally determined upon assessment and what is declared by 10% or more. And lastly, the 500% surcharge will be applied when the misdeclaration, misclassification, or undervaluation is intentional or fraudulent. In closing, Customs Administrative Order Number 1-2020 strengthens the commitment of the Bureau of Customs to ensure that all submitted documents reflect accurate data in order to arrive at the correct duties and taxes due to the government and to timely process the release of the shipments. Thank you very much.
I shall see to it personally, sir. You called, sir?
Thank you so much, Attorney Doria, for discussing with us the prevailing issued Customs Administrative Order on penalties, fines, and surcharges. We truly hope that everyone has been well informed throughout the presentation. At this point, for our next topic, she will be discussing customs accreditation, which is a prerequisite for customs transaction. Please welcome Customs Operations Officer 3, Evaluator of Accounts Management Office, Ms. Junichelle C. Hababag.
Hello everyone, I'm Junichelle from the Accounts Management Office. Welcome to the first ever webinar of Customs Policies and Operations. I am here to talk about customs
The
accreditation.
code to battle.
And before I present to you I give you my presentation, I'd like to give you a bit of information about
I
what
will
customs
only take
accreditation
me
is.
a man.
Customs accreditation is a system that supports
To battle.
the needs of the BOC, the Bureau of Customs, for accurate information, reliable information from stakeholders, specifically
New code, sir.
those who are engaged in importation, specifically importers and tax declarants, the
New
professional
code,
customs
sir.
brokers.
Big guns ready to fire.
It gathers and maintains data that is needed by the Bureau of Customs for as a risk management tool,
New code,
its
sir.
performance of its mandate, that is to generate revenue, and to facilitate a fair trade.
New code, sir.
Over the years,
Will only take me a
enhancement measures were put in place to improve accreditation system of the Bureau. And just last year,
Objective secured.
the Bureau introduced Customer Care Portal System or ticketing system. It allows online submission of applications as well as monitoring of the progress of your applications. And in compliance with the ease of doing business, it simplified the list of requirements. And also, it shortened the processing period. And as of the moment, at present, the customs accreditation is handled by an ad hoc unit called AMO, Accounts Management Office, that is under the intelligence group. So that's a bit of information for you. And now, let's proceed with my presentation. I am going to discuss two topics, that is the requirements of accreditation of importers and brokers and the steps on how to apply for accreditation. Now, let's start with my presentation. Of course, we are guided by Customs Memorandum Orders. Under Customs Memorandum Order number 11/2014 and Customs Memorandum Order 31/2019. Now, this the CMO lists down the list of requirements and the procedures of accreditation. If you want to check the contents of the CMO, this is available at our website at customs.gov.ph. Check it out. Okay, next, let's discuss first the requirements for importers. Who are importers? Importers refers to, it can be a sole proprietorship, corporations, partnership, or cooperatives. So, these are the list of the requirements. Madami siya tingnan, pero pag tinignan mo siya, some of the requirements is not applicable for sole proprietorship and some are for corporations. So allow me to discuss to you one by one the requirements. Okay, start with application form. Okay, let me tell you that if you forgot to memorize, or this is actually posted at the portal. Okay, first requirement, application form. Okay, application form, this is available, this is a prescribed format. The form is available, it can be downloadable at our portal. So, okay, remember, this is a sworn document. You have to declare accurate information. It includes your address, warehouse, email of the company, contact numbers, importable items, and it should be signed and notarized. And affix a 2x2 photo of the applicant. Now, I have a question. Sino lang ang pwede pumirma ng application form? Okay. For sole proprietorship, proprietor lang ang pwede pumirma. It's the sole proprietor. For corporations, it should be anyone sa mga officers, or they can designate a person from the company to represent the company and to sign the application form. And for cooperatives, it should be the chairman. And for partnership, it should be one of the partners. Okay. And next, we have, okay, one of the requirements is that you have to declare yung designated signatory sa goods declaration. So for corporations, kailangan i-submit corporate secretary certificate stating therein yung names of signatory in the goods declaration. And ilalagay doon yung signatures, specimen signatures of entry signatories or goods declaration signatories. And for partnership resolution, of course. For cooperatives, cooperative resolution. And for sole proprietorship, affidavit of proprietor as sole signatory of the import entry. I repeat, for sole proprietorship, si sole proprietor lang ang pwede pumirma sa goods declaration. Okay? So next. So that's an example. Okay? And next, we have, for corporations, we require general information sheet. So, latest GIS. Paano kung hindi pa available na GIS? For example, kaka-establish lang ng company. Okay. In lieu of the GIS, the corporation shall submit complete list of SEC Certificate of Registration, Articles of Corporation, Articles of Cooperative, and bylaws. Kapag walang GIS yun. Okay, this is an example of GIS. Okay, it should be latest. Nandyan ang list of stockholders and officers of the company. Okay. Okay. And for sole proprietorship, this is only for sole proprietorship, DTI registration. So the DTI registration, it bears the name of the company, the name of the owner, and the validity of the registration. Okay. And certification for registration. It should be valid. That's for sole proprietorship. Okay, for partnership, ang isasabit naman is SEC registration and articles of partnership. So again, nandiyan ang business name, the list of partners, and other contents of the articles of partnership. And of course, for cooperatives, CDA registration and articles of cooperative. Okay, that's an example. Okay. Okay, next, BIR registration. Now, this is very important because this is the basis of our tax identification number. Now, BIR registration,
The call to battle.
this is an example. Nandiyan ang PIN, tax identification number of the company, the address, the business name, and the line of business. Okay, it's form BIR form 2303.
A challenge worthy of my skill.
Mayor's permit.
Relocating.
Okay, remember, the mayor's permit of office address lang. No need to submit the mayor's permit of the warehouse. Just the mayor's permit of the office address. So, this is an example. Again, nandun ang business name, the owner, the address, the location of the office address, and the time and the nature of business. And it should be signed by the city mayor, and it should be valid and certified by the business permit and licensing office, the one who issued the mayor's permit.
You called, sir. We will serve.
Okay.
Big guns ready to
And
fire.
next is
Big
income tax
guns ready to
return.
fire.
Income tax return for the past 3 years. So we are requiring for the past 3 years. There are times na hindi pa ito applicable sa isang company. For example, na-issue ang BIR registration 2018, so yung available lang to submit ITR is 2018 and ITR for 2019. Okay? So, depende ito sa issuance ng date of registration nila sa BIR. Okay? But our requirement is for the past 3 years. That's an example. Depende yung form kung anong form na sinasabit sa BIR. So, 1702 for corporation, 1701 for sole proprietorship.
Relocating.
Okay. Next, we have
You
company
called, sir.
profile.
I shall
Now,
see to it
company
first,
profile,
sir.
ang content nito is to give us a background
They will
of your company. So, it may include the history of the company, what kind of business you're engaged in,
You called,
and
sir.
then, of course, affiliations,
You called, sir.
officers, okay? And then, now,
Will only take me.
one example, and
Will
it
only
also
take
includes
me a
the
moment.
pictures of the office and warehouse premises. Okay. Now, for the pictures of the office, for the pictures of the office, it should be latest.
I shall see to it personally.
You have to submit interior shots of the office and the exterior shots of the office. And a photo of the permit, the proper standard. Again, proper permanent standard, not a bond paper. It should be a permanent and proper business size. You have to take a photo of your business signage at the office premises. So interior shots and exterior shots on the office premises. And for warehouse premises, you have also to submit a photo, the exterior and the interior shots of the warehouse, of the storage premises. Okay? Should be clear photo. It should be clear. Okay, next we have proof of lawful occupancy of office premises. Okay. Example of lawful occupancy proof. If you're renting, if you are not renting, if the company owns the property, a copy of land title. Paano kung ang land title ay nakapangalan sa iba? So, the owner of the property must execute an affidavit of consent or a certification that he is allowing that company to occupy the premises for business purposes for free or for how long. So, those are examples. And if it's a sublease or they are sharing, the lessor shall issue a certification that he is allowing sharing of office in sublease.
It will only take me a moment.
Okay. So, example, land title, contract of lease. The contract of lease should be valid.
Executing your orders, sir.
Okay. Next, sketch or location of office and warehouse address. So, it can be a Google shot or pwede mo mag-go into a sketch. Paano papunta doon yung sketch papunta sa office and warehouse address? Google shot or sketch. Pwede. Basta clear at maayos. Makikita doon kung paano papunta doon sa address. Next, proof of financial capacity to import goods. Okay. You have to show to us that you have the financial capability to import goods. For example, on certificate. Okay. And other example is credit facility. So, those are examples of proof. But if you don't have a bank certificate, if credit facility, you can actually submit to us a proof as long as you can explain, you can show that you have the financial capability to import goods and to engage in business. Okay. Okay. Next is NDA clearance. NDA clearance should be not more than 3 months old. It should be original. Okay. Sino ang magsasubmit ng NDA clearance? Applicant lang po ang magsasubmit ng NDA clearance. Applicant lang meaning yung nagpirma ng application form. Siya lang ang magsasubmit ng NDA clearance. Okay. 2 valid government-issued ID the picture of responsible officers. Question, sino ang mga responsible officers and principal officers? Now, ang magsasubmit ng ID ay yung mga responsible officers. Una, the applicant, yung puno ng application form. The second, yung signatory, yung signatories. Third, the president, and any other person na declare as responsible officers ng company. Okay. And ito yung example na acceptable SSS, passport, typos, RCID, and for foreigners, kailangan submit passport and a copy of a valid ACR and AAP. Ito yung in-issue ng immigration, alien certificate of registration, and alien employment permit. That's for foreigners. Okay. Personal profile. Yung nagsubmit ng ID, nagsasubmit na siya ng personal profile. Okay. Personal profile, prescribed form to. This is available sa portal. So have it printed and then fill out. It should be signed with the person and should have fixed photo. So again, yung magsasubmit ng personal profile, responsible officers, the applicant, the entry signatories, the president, and other persons
Okay.
CPRS profile. Now, this is a requirement
Two arms!
na kailangan
What would
you
you
have
have me do?
to be registered first sa CPRS. And you have to avail, para magkaroon ka nito, you have to avail the services of value-added service providers. So, CPRS profile, ito yung content ng CPRS. Pareho na siya sa application form. So, dapat, yung nakalagay sa application form is pareho sa i-declare mo sa CPRS. So, it should be, you have to declare complete address, the warehouse address, correct email, contact numbers, foreign supplier, the basis of foreign and major stockholder rather. The basis of major stockholder yung nakalagay sa GIS na sinabit ninyo. Okay? But for sole proprietorship, walang ganito, walang major stockholder. Iba rin ang form ng sole proprietorship. And of course, responsible officer. So you have to declare, you have to upload the photo, tapos yung names and contact numbers of responsible. So nandun lahat yan sa CPRS. Okay. And kapag successful yung pag-store sa system ng CPRS profile, there will be a notification na successfully sent siya. Okay. Ito yung example.
Will only take me a moment.
Address, principal officers,
A
supplier.
challenge worthy of my skill.
And lastly, of course, processing fee. So we have 1,010 processing fee. So there are two options that you have kung paano magbayad ng processing fee. First, over the counter, you can pay at cash division of the nearest customs district. So all you have to do is print the order of payment. Nandun yung sa portal, i-print yung order of payment and then present it sa cash division. And then, din ka magbayad ng processing fee and then they will issue you a green copy of the receipt. Or, pwede naman to Maya. So, kung gusto mo, yes, you can pay through Maya. So, sa application, you have to pay registration. Accreditation to pay Maya. AMO will send you an invoice, tapos confirmation, and then print mo yan. That's an example of the invoice. Okay? That's for importers. Now let's proceed with brokers. Registration of customs brokers. Okay. These are the list of requirements for customs brokers.
Do you require?
Number 1. Application form. So again, the form is available at the portal. Have it printed and then fill it out. These are the personal details of the broker. Answer some questions, and then take photo, signatures, and her number. And have it notarized. It should be original. Of course, processing fee. Few options to pay Maya or over the counter at cash division near of the nearest store. Pay Maya,
Only
also
take
pay.
me a moment.
Okay. Next is PRC ID. Okay, for customs brokers, a copy of the PRC ID, a valid PRC ID, and the appearance, a valid and the appearance, original.
I hear and I obey.
Of course, you have to submit, if you have clients, submit list of clients with complete address and contact details. Now, if you don't have that client, submit ka na ng affidavit that you don't have clients. Okay. Pag meron, may form, you have to fill it out, and then submit it to us. This form is available also at the portal. Okay, list of representatives. Some brokers, some customs brokers have representatives. So, just fill out the form. Again, you have a form for that. Sa portal yan. Fill out mo lang yan. Wala ka pang representatives. Submit an affidavit of the representatives.
Will only take me a moment.
Now, again, CPRS profile. CPRS for customs brokers. So, okay, this is the CPRS for customs brokers. You have to avail the services of a service provider, value-added service provider. Okay, you have to fill this out, address, and list of the clients that you have. So, that's for customs brokers, CPRS. And again, if If this is successfully sent to the system, you will receive a notification. Alright? BIR registration. For brokers, they're requiring BIR registration. So, nandun ang name ng broker, the thing, and the line of business, customs.
I hear and I obey.
Okay. And ITR. So ITR, for the past 3 years, if applicable, kung ka pa lang, kung 2019 ka pa lang, so 2019 lang ako. Just a copy of it. It's an example of the customs broker, so 1701.
What do you require? What would you have me do? The call to battle.
Okay, don't worry, yung list ng brokers requirements available din yan sa portal as well as yung importers list. So, pwede nyo balikan yun. And then lastly, requirements to customs brokers, the certificate of good standing issued by APO. Pwede siya. As of now, it is the Chamber of Customs Brokers Incorporated who issue a certificate of good standing for customs broker. So, it should be latest, it should be fast. This is an example of a certificate of good standing. That's it. Okay. So, those are the requirements for brokers and importers. Now, where can we get the requirements? Again, sinabi ko kanina, it's available sa portal. So, client at customs.gov.gh. So, under FAQ, open mo yun, nandun lahat ng forms na prescribed form. So, application form, ito yung mga forms na pwede mo i-download na available na. For importers, application form, order payment, ito yung pagbabayad ng sa OR, personal profile. For your brokers, again, application form, order payment, list of clients, representatives, and personal profile.
Where is his
Alright?
will needed?
Okay. Let's proceed. Kompleto ka na sa requirements. Now, let's proceed. Mag-a-update na. Now, I'm gonna show you on how the steps to submit online application. Magsasubmit ka na ng application. Okay. There are 2 steps na gagawin mo before ka makapag-submit. First, you have to be registered. Okay. So, dapat may email ka na nakaprepare para mag-register ng user account. Pag nag-open ka sa portal, client.customs.gov.ph, ito yung lalakad. So, ito yung forms. Ito yung forms. So, show ko lang ha, yung kanina mga forms. Ito, FAQ. So, nandun lahat. Nandun ang mga forms. So, ito yung favorite portal natin. So, open mo lang yung portal, yung client.customs.gov.ph, dun ka na rin sasabihin. Okay, una, registration muna. Open browser client.customs.gov.ph. Okay, ayan ang lalabas. And then, click mo yung sign in. Lalabas yung registration. Ayan. So, fill out mo yung registration. Ayan. So, you have to fill out the details. Provide details. Your email and password. And then, after mo siya ma-fill out, click mo siya sa baba register. After yan, may confirmation. So, yung confirmation na yun, magbibigyan ka ng link sa email mo. So, to check it, to confirm your account, open mo ang email mo. And then, nandun yung link. Tapos, yan, account confirm. So, meron ka ng account sa portal. So, now you're ready to submit your application. Okay, step 2. How to submit application form. Now that you have an account sa portal, magsasubmit ka ng application. Okay. Step 1. Again, ang ating favorite portal, client.customs.gov.ph, doon ka mag-open ng ticket. Now, pag in-open mo yan, dapat ready na yung scan documents mo. In-scan mo na all your requirements. So,
What do you require?
eto. Sa lower part, open and repeated. Sign in ka muna sa user account, and then mag-appear to. Open and repeated.
New code, sir. What would you have me do?
Will only take me a
Select topic for transaction. Halimbawa, mag-a-apply ka as importer. So, ipipiliin mo doon, new
Will
importer.
only take me a moment.
We're under fire!
Topic. And then,
I challenge
sa baba niya,
worthy of
i-put
my
ka ng
skill.
issue summary. Ang ilalagay mo kapag importer, company name. Okay?
What would you have me do? I
Tapos,
hear
pag na-input
and
mo
I
na yung company
obey.
name,
What do you require? Have faith.
New code, sir.
below that, dun mo na i-upload.
What would you have me
There is an icon
New
there.
code, sir.
Choose them. Ayan.
New code, sir.
Piliin mo yon, then i-upload mo yung documents. Now,
What would
I
you have me
suggest
do?
sa pag-upload ng documents na
Yes,
it should be
They
per
will quake at my
subject. For
shadow.
example,
Tell your
application
men to
form,
stay away
GIS,
at my
marriage
shadow.
permit. Tapos, bawat isa, lalagyan mo
Tell
ng
your men
label.
to stay out of
Link
my
file
way.
sa pag-upload.
New
PDF.
code, sir.
Para organize. Okay. So, after mo ma-upload, i-click mo na yung sa
Will
baba.
only take me a moment.
Create. Pag na-click
New
mo na
code,
yun,
sir.
successful
New
na
code,
send mo yung
Sergeant. Kill your arms!
scan documents. Create. Ayan na mag-a-appear. Create ticket.
We're under fire!
Pag na-create mo yung ticket mo, ayan na nakikita mo. Meron ka na
Take
ticket
me
number.
a moment.
Nasa upper.
I will
Ticket
use
number.
the machine.
Okay? Meron ka na ticket number. That's your transaction ticket number. Sa button. Okay. Print mo yung ticket number and attach mo yun sa hard copy ng folder mo.
Cannot
Okay.
withstand us!
Now that you're finished with online application, and again pala, pwede mo ito ma-confirm doon sa kung successful din, pwede mo ma-check sa email.
Have faith.
Where is
So,
his will needed?
nakuha? Don't worry. Nandiyan din sa FAQ ang step-by-step procedure kung paano to. So, hindi mo agad kung hindi mo
Where
maka-access
is
agad yung
his will
procedure,
needed?
pwede mo naman balikan yan. Nandiyan
I
sa
stand
FAQ.
ready to serve
Hanapin mo lang doon yung portal. Yung
Where is his
FAQ
will
sa
needed?
portal. Nandun ang
I stand
step-by-step
ready to
procedure
serve
kung
the
paano mag-register and paano mag-submit online. So,
I
don't
stand
worry.
ready to serve the
Makukuha mo yan.
I
Okay.
stand ready to serve the
Now that you
Where
have
is
submitted
his will
online,
needed?
ano nang gagawin? Aantayin mo
I
na lang.
stand ready to serve the emperor. Where is his
So, may
will
ticket ka
needed?
na. Successful.
I will ease the machines.
Ito. Ang gagawin mo na ngayon is submit the hard copy to customer care
Where
center
is his will needed?
receiving section.
I stand ready
Receiving
to
area.
serve the emperor.
So remember, all applicants are required to submit first documents online. So after mo makuha yung ticket, masubmit mo online, you have to submit the hard copy sa CCC, sa Customer Care Center. Later on, I will give you the address para makikita kung saan sasabit. So okay, i-take yung copy ng ticket, isama mo din sa folder.
I hear and I obey.
Will only take me a
Okay.
moment.
Now, nasubmit mo na ang form, you have your ticket, and then mag-aantay ka ng status mo. Nasubmit mo na rin yung hard copy sa Bureau of Customs. Let's go now sa processing. Ilang araw ba nga aantayin mo sa processing? Okay.
I challenge
So,
worthy
sa
of
ngayon,
my skill.
7 working days from receipt of said application,
Where is his
your
will needed?
application, makakatanggap ka ng status. Actually, 3 to 5 working days, makakatanggap ka na ng status sa portal. So, monitor
I
mo lang
stand
yun.
ready to
So,
serve the
doon,
emperor.
huwag mong mulain ang ticket number mo. So, para pag nag-follow up ka sa portal, makikita mo yun. So, you will be needing that ticket number to track the status of your application. So, we have the Bureau of Customs, meron kaming 7
I
working
stand
days
ready to
to
serve the
process your
emperor.
application. Yan, 7.
Hold
So,
back,
there is a mail for that, 7 working days. Okay? Now,
We're under fire.
what about na-receive na yung folder, na-receive na yung application mo, and then may findings sa folder mo, may findings doon sa documents, may discrepancy. Okay. The account management office will notify you
Where is
of
his will needed?
those findings. So, AMO will notify you within 7 working days to answer doon sa findings. Or if needed, submit documents. Now, within 7 working days, pag hindi mo siya nasubmit, that ticket will be closed,
Where is his will needed?
it will be disapproved,
I
and
stand
you will
ready
be
to serve
notified
the Emperor.
na disapproving application. And then, we will return
Where
the
is
folder.
his will needed?
Will only take me a moment.
Okay? So, ayan.
Where is his will needed?
So, 7 working days processing, be notified. They're given 7 working days to answer if there are findings. Okay. Halimbawa,
You're doing rocket
okay na, approve ka na.
coming
Pag approve ka na, Customs accreditation is valid for a year. You will be issued a certificate of registration. Now, a certificate of registration is automatically generated by the system. So, once approved, you will be notified
They cannot
and you will receive
withstand us.
a computer-generated certificate of registration. And then, the certificate of accreditation, makiklaim mo yun
Where is his will needed?
sa customer care center din. Kung saan mo sinabit yung accreditation form, yung hard copy na folder. Now, this is an example of certificate of registration. Ito na yung accreditation, certificate of registration. So it bears the CCN number, a unit number, and then your TIN, your company name, nature of business, and the expiration date. So remember, it is valid only for a year. So meaning, may renewal siya.
Where is his will needed?
Okay, now, take note of this information.
Where
So,
is his will needed?
ito yung portal where to submit and where to get the forms and to submit the application, the hard copy application form sa Bureau of Customs Customer Care Center, receiving desk, Gate 3, Port Area, Manila. And also, the certificate will be released also dun din. And if you are outport, nasa labas ka ng NCR, the nearest district office. So, those are the requirements, those are the steps. Pwede nyo siyang balikan, nakapost yun sa portal. So, kung dati kakalimutan ang favorite portal natin, client.customs.gov.ph, and doon naka-take you kung paano mag-register, kung paano mag-submit, what are the forms na pwede mong i-download doon, and then how to submit step by step. Okay? And so, take note of those information, and then, so as of September, Account Management's Office accredited 15,797 importers and 2,572 brokers.
Where is his
So,
will needed?
ayun. So for, if you have questions, you may call this number.
Where is
So
his
we have
will
also our
needed?
line.
I stand ready to serve the Emperor. I stand
That's it.
ready.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you so much, Ms. Junichelle, for that presentation. And for our last speaker to discuss the E2M stabilization is the officer in charge of Technology Management System under the MISTG. Please welcome Mr. Jonathan Soriano.
For so many years, BOC's users and stakeholders perceived the BOC system as slow, unreliable, always down, especially on a Friday. I am here to show that we have noted the issues and has implemented solutions to keep the E2M system running until a replacement system is acquired. E2M stabilization came about through a recommendation by the World Bank Group. World Bank conducted an assessment of BOC's current IT infrastructure and recommended IT stabilization action items that will improve the current E2M system.
I stand ready to serve the Emperor.
The World Bank recommended an upgrade of BOC's virtual infrastructure, conducting of data archiving, replacement of the Asikuda engine, and implement a network upgrade. In response to the World Bank recommendation for E2M stabilization, BOC implemented the following key projects for hardware and we implemented the high-performance private cloud server. We procured a co-location server for database. and acquired a disaster recovery server. On the software part,
Will only take me a moment.
the custom system maintenance and support was implemented.
Will only take me
We also acquired a database license and support,
challenge worthy of my skill.
and upgrade of the database of the BOC's database. And for network backup, we implemented a network redundancy project to take over the network when the primary network goes down. To improve our ICT infrastructure, BOC implemented a private cloud environment. A private cloud infrastructure is a cloud computing environment dedicated for BOC use and set up on site on BOC's data center. It will provide an easily manageable, flexible, and reliable high-capacity environment to host BOC systems and database. For our application system, we utilize a private cloud on the high-performance server, and for the database environment, we acquired an Oracle private cloud to host our database servers. Another component of the E2M stabilization is the E2M software maintenance and support. Since 2013, the custom system has been running without support and upgrade. Imagine your car without any maintenance running since 2013. This will obviously encounter problems and will bug down. E2M since 2013 has been maintained only by MISCG, which has no capacity to address bugs and fix issues. Since 2013, BOC has also attempted to procure an upgraded or a new custom system, but this has not been successful. To compensate for the failed procurements of a new system, a maintenance and support project was acquired to keep the current E2M system operating until a new custom system is implemented. This will provide a database update, decommission the Asikuda engine, update the application, and fix the issues and bugs on the current system. Shown here are the current achievement of the E2M software maintenance and support. Notable on these are the URMS or the Universal Risk Management System and the EVRIS or the Enhanced Valuation Reference Information System. These modules have been implemented in the current custom system since May and August 2020, and BOC has and the BOC system has benefited from a better risk management system and better valuation system. The bottom line for this is E2M maintenance and support can now address all issues and enhancement needed to keep the custom system running. For the infrastructure upgrade, the following infrastructure upgrades were done. We have transferred the BOC database to the Oracle private cloud server. We have transferred the E2M application on the high-performance server, upgraded the Oracle database from the current 10G to a later model of Oracle 12C. We created a backup Oracle database to ensure database availability. We have ongoing creation of another database in a real application cluster environment.
The effect of these upgrades resulted in noticeable E2M performance and reliability. Currently, the E2M system has experienced no slowdown or downtime since the upgrade were done. On the network side, we will set up this year a network redundancy solution through our network backbone project. This project is intended to strengthen our backbone network infrastructure to ensure continuous system availability and delivery of online services in all BOC ports. It is an outsourced managed service for 2 years and will provide a higher speed internet and one connection to all BOC ports. To complement the IT infrastructure and software maintenance solutions, we also implemented support systems that will further enhance the BOC ICT environment. To complement the E2M stabilization projects, BOC also implemented IT systems automation. We implemented the modified goods declaration verification system, which is a web-based application designed to promote transparency, efficiency, through random assignment of import entries to BOC examiners and appraisers, thereby eliminating face-to-face transaction. We implemented a document tracking system, which is a web-based application that allows monitoring and tracking of documents received and generated by various offices of the BOC to improve processing time and in compliance with the Republic Act number 1102, otherwise known as Ease of Doing Business. We implemented the Alert Order Monitoring System, which is an application that tracks the status of alert orders from the time of issue until its resolution. The systems allow BOC to comply with the processing time requirements for alerts as provided in the Customs Modernization and Tariff Act. Number 4, we implemented the Customer Care Portal System, or the BOC ticketing system. It is designed to enable importers and brokers to obtain real-time information on the status of their filed goods declaration through the use of desktop browsers or smartphones. The system allows the BOC stakeholders to electronically submit their concerns with the Bureau. The stakeholders can post their complaints, feedback, suggestions online, and can also upload documents using this portal. And number 5, we implemented the Parcel and Balikbayan Box Tracking System, which is an online verification system designed to provide stakeholders with immediate information on the status of their parcel and balikbayan box upon entering BOC. The new custom system is still years away until implemented. So we implemented project to stabilize the current system until we acquired a new custom system. We know that this is a continuous process, and we will continue to implement enhancement to ensure that our stakeholders get the best service needed. So that ends my presentation. Thank you.
Following orders. We're under fire! Yes, sir. They will quake at my shadow. What would you have me do? Follow men! Charge! I will... Fire control! Initiate strafing run! Standing by. What would you have me do? Greenskins! Golguts' big banner got blown up! Golguts is a grot herder, that one! I should be boss! No way! I's the boss now! Attack! The call to battle. No quarter. Standing by. What would you have me do? faced worse. We've faced worse. Standing by. Following orders. We're under fire! Following orders. What would you have me do? Standing by. Yes, boss. Retreat! Retreat! What do you require? Fate is fatal! That's it, boys! Give them the pointy ends! What do you require? What would you have me do? I hear and I obey. What do you require? What do you require?
Where we take me? Of course.
We got that! We're under fire, cold son! I shall see to it personally, son. What would you have me do?
Ayan, good morning everyone!
Where we take
Ayan,
me?
naririnig niyo na ba ako? Ayan, sound check lang muna tayo. Mga teachers and mga other professionals natin na talaga namang nakakasubaybay sa atin. So meron na naman tayong talagang fruitful morning na maipapromise ko sa inyo. Kumbaga, hindi masasayang ang iyong 3 hours dito, best. Ayan. So yung mga other best mo dyan, best friend, family, asawa, na talaga namang gustong matuto. Ayan, so may bago tayong webinar, no? Ang title natin is a practical guide to data mining for teachers. So talagang naka-align to for teachers, pero syempre, yung mga other educators natin, doctors, professors, na hindi pa ganun ka-familiar kay data mining, is in-encourage nyo namin to attend here. Lalo yung mga ICT cohorts ninyo, no? Sa inyong mga schools. Ayan, so, ganito lang, hingi lang ako ng counting pabor sa inyo. Ngayon kasi meron tayo mga 353 concurrent viewers. So, ito sanang 300 plus na to is mag-share sa kanya-kanyang timeline sa Facebook para, to reach out pa yung ating mga teachers and other participants na interested sa ating webinar. So, by the way, I will be your host. Ayan, host ako ngayon. Hindi ako yung magpapagawa. By the way, sa mga bago pa lang, hindi ko lang nakakakilala sa atin, I am Sir Ed. Ayan, so, I am the founder of the Area Tech at our channel na to. Ayan, so, our main objective is to provide ICT webinars na talaga namang majority ng aming mga webinars ngayon is naka-align for teachers and educators. Na alam ko na madaming natutuwa at syempre at madami pa kaming papasahin na kasi dito sa amin hindi kami ganun ka sobrang intense yung seryoso when it comes to subjects. Sa amin kasi is ang gusto namin is natututo ka na at masaya ka. Hanggat maaari walang stress at hanggat maaari nag-hands-on ka. Kasi we believe in here na learning by doing talaga. Ayan, kaya puro hands-on tayo. Kasi ang ating subject lagi dito is more on your ICT. So gusto natin, magpa-practice tayo. No? Ayan, so we will give you time din para makasunod. So bear with the subject matter expert kapag medyo bumibilis. Don't worry. This webinar is recorded. So pwede kayong mga team replays dyan. Okay, alam na kilala natin yung mga team replay. May mga meeting ngayong maga. May asikasuhin ngayong maga. Don't worry. Ating mga due dates sa mga requirements is napakahaba. Usually 1 month, 2 months. Kaya huwag kayong mangamba na, Sir, hindi ako nakanood ng ganito. Sir, hindi ako nakanood ng ganito. Open pa ba? Ayan, so don't worry. Spread the word. Napakahaba ng mga deadlines natin, yung submissions natin. Makakakuha kayo ng e-certificate kahit team replay kayo o inire-replay nyo na lang yung mga video. Ano po? Ayan, so those are reminders lang naman sa amin, no, sa Area Tech. Ayan po. For this morning, wala akong co-host. Okay lang ba yun? Ako lang muna. Pero I will promise you na talaga namang itong ating subject matter expert ay talaga namang may import natin something new and practical na talaga
Will
namang
only take me a moment.
alam ko na maia-apply ninyo to sa inyong mga fields, sa education fields, sa inyong mga other work, ma-apply nyo to. Okay? So kung familiar kayo dun sa aking naging webinar dun sa intermediate Microsoft Excel, so sana napanood nyo to yun, no? Kasi prerequisite to, prerequisite yun ng ating webinar today. Pero kung hindi naman, don't worry, magre-review tayo ng konti. Ayan. Para kahit pa paano makasunod pa rin kayo. For those na may mga background knowledge na, okay lang din naman yun, no? Ayan. So, konting, ano lang tayo dito, no? Dito lang, huwag masyadong init. Sit back and relax po muna. So, please bear with me for the announcement ng ating mga, mga dapat gawin, no? Ayan po.
Will only take me a moment.
So, check ko lang po, no? Ayan. Bago tayo magsimula, again, i-remind ko lang po ang lahat, no? Ayan. So, relax lang muna tayo, ha? Chill lang muna ang environment. So, bago po magsimula ang lahat, ayan, gusto ko po munang makita ang inyong mga likes. So, ngayon, kung video na to, may like button dyan, please paki-like yung like button. Kasi po, gusto namin dito kayo ngayon, engaging. Baga, nag-interact ka, hindi ka lang basta-basta nakikinig, hindi ka lang basta-basta nanonood, hindi nyo lang papaganahin yung mata, yung tenga, of course, papaganahin din natin ang ating kamay. Diba? Lalo-lalo yung mga kinesthetic learners natin, diba? Na gustong-gusto nila, gumagalaw sila, nag-a-action.
Thank you, Miss
Gustong-gusto nila yun, no? For those naman din na mga auditory, don't worry. Make sure, ping us kung aming audio is clear. At the same time, yung ating visual learners can make sure na dapat yung settings mo nakaayos na. Baka mamaya malabo, blurred, blurred. Yun pala ay yung YouTube setting. No? Yung YouTube setting mo, i-click mo lang yung gear up icon dyan and make it high quality yung setting. Otherwise, naka-blurred po. Ano po, those are reminders na common problems habang nanonood sa atin. Ayan, so gusto ko po, dumami na yung next itong video. Ayan, video pumapalo siya ng paisa-isa. Ayan, gusto ko po, nakikita yan na pumapalo ng pataas ko yan. Kasi nakikita ko na nag-i-engage ka, napapakinggan mo yung sinasabi namin. No? So these are practice din kasi ganun yung gagawin natin later dito sa ating webinar. No? Ipapakinggan yung lecture and then may ipagagawa ang subject natin expert sa atin. No? Nabibigyan kayo ng time, don't worry. And again, meron din red button, hindi lang like button yung nandiyan. Please paki-like din at paki-click din yung subscribe. Yung lalabas na notification bell, yung tiny bell kung tawagin. I-click din po yun, no? Do not forget to click that. So, click na click yung aming order din sa aming notification. Kasi nakakalimutan yan, hindi po kayo nanonotify. Ano po? And if you can watch party, yung paling watch party, share mo lang itong video na to sa mga social media mo. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Mas maganda sa Facebook. Alam ko marami kayong friends sa Facebook. Ano po? Ayan. So, and another thing is yung ating live box. Live na live po yan. Pwede yung mga thoughts ninyo, komento ninyo, reaction ninyo, violent reaction. Welcome na welcome lahat yan. So, those feedbacks are very important to us kasi to improve more yung aming webinar. Ano po? Gusto namin nag-improve ka. Yung mga kaloobin mo, ilagay mo dyan. And do not forget our official hashtag, Team EduTech. Kaya hashtag Team EduTech. So kung na po makita yung mga hashtag natin, Team EduTech. Ayan po. So makikita ko dito sa screen. So naglilipa namin color orange na may mention na yung ating page. Yeah, so bear with me, no? Konting-konti lang to mga best. Reminders lang to para smooth yung ating webinars, no? Sir, ganito, blurred. So, para sinasabi lang natin kung paano yung gagawin. Ano po?
Will only take me a moment.
So next, again, for this webinar, meron po tayong file na gagamitin. Kaya kung hindi nyo po na-miss out nyo yung aming announcement sa Facebook, this is the time to download the required file. Ayan. So basically, huwag ka matakot, Excel file lang po yan, hindi po yan harmful. Kaya kung may nagkaroon lang ng konting problem dun sa post namin, no, si bit.ly kasi hanggat maaari. parang dinisable nila yung HTTPS nila. Pero ano to, secure to, no? Ako na nagsasabi. So just type the www.bit.ly/erutech-cbm101-activity. Ayan, so meron tayong practical data mining for teachers. So, introduction to data mining. No, na talagang, ano ba yung data mining niya? Alam lang namin data. Ayan. So, later, ang subject matter expert natin ang bahala mag-discuss na natin. Ano po? So, please, bear with me. Konting announcement lang tayo. Ayan po. So, again, so, bigyan ko kayo ng mga minuto, no? Para na tayo nag-hands on ngayon. Bigyan ko kayo ng mga 1 minute, 2 minutes to download the file. And those na mga nakapag-download na, sir, downloaded na po. Ayan, comment nyo sa live box para nalalaman namin. Sir, downloaded na po. Thank you po. Ayan, mga ganun, sir. Ay, sorry, no? May konting tayo for error. www, ha? Ayan po. Siguro lagyan natin, no? Para hindi malito ang iba. Let me check kung makakapag-ano ako dyan. Ayan, sulat ako siguro. Ayan. Ayan, so www. Lagyan nyo lang po yan. Ayan po. Ayan, so www po yan, ha? Medyo may konting problem lang. Hindi na-type yung ano, no? Yung another W. Sorry po for that. So, ayan, meron tayo dyan. www. Thank you, ma'am, dun sa naka-notice. Thank you for your active observation. Ayan. Talaga naman yung mga visual learners natin ay talagang, kasi pag-participate talagang nanonotice at creative yung ating mga presentations, no? Don't worry, may konting error tayo. I guess, so again, ulit-ulitin ko lang po, www.bit.ly/erutech-cbm101-activity. Excel file po yan, huwag pumatakot, save po yan, wala po yung virus. So kasi binavalue din namin dito ang online safety. Ayan. So hindi lang kami dito more on mga turo-turo about ICT. We care. So dapat more on safety tayo. Safety first, ika nga, diba? In any kind of work, safety first dapat. Yan, so ang dami ko na. Shoutout sa iyo, Sir Jason, downloaded na po. Ayan, thank you, sir. Ayan, open with Google Sheets. Yes po, naka-host po yan, nakalagay yan sa Google Drive. So technically, pag in-open yan, mag-open yung inyong Google Sheets. So now, that your first objective is to download it. Download po. Ayan, download po muna. Ayan, download niya po Huwag po siyang gagawin sa Google Sheet kasi po magma-Microsoft Excel tayo later. I-download niyo po, no? Download. Make sure na download niyo na sa computer ninyo mismo. Diba, parang sa ating right side. Ay, sa right side, dito niya nakikita. So, right side, meron dyan parang download button. Click niyo yun sa taas, right upper corner ng yung screen. Click niyo siya and then magda-download yun sa inyong lower part. Makikita niyo kung naka-Google browser. Kaya ayan talagang step by step natin kasi yung iba hindi pa ganun marunong mag-download ng Excel sheet sa Google Drive. No? Ayan, so ang dami na natin downloaded na. So ngayon, so thankful tayo na kahit papano madami kahit alam natin busy na sa paggawa ng insect meeting nila. Ngayon, thankful ako sa mga ating live viewers pa rin na gusto nila yung synchronous learning. Pero don't worry, we also acknowledge yung asynchronous online learning na wherein recorded to, pwede nyo ulit-ulitin kahit yung mga nandito na, no? So, pagka medyo nabibilisan kayo, back forward nyo lang, no? So wala namang pipigil sa inyo, i-back forward nyo lang para makasunod pa kayo. Okay, so sana po malas natin yung mga konting reklamo kasi alam niyo naman meron tayong allotted time. So nakabaga na-upfix yung time kaya konting may konting bibilis, may konting babagal. Ano po? So reminder ko lang, pwede po lang i-back forward. Ayan po. Para po hindi tayo parang ma-stress pa. Ay gano'n ang bilis. Back forward mo lang po. Okay? Agree po ba sa akin? Naintindihan po ako? Agree po ba? Yan, so, I would like to see the agree, yung mga nag-agree sa akin. Ayan, so mga, alam ko, mga staff, Aerotech staff fan or proud Aerotech staff fan yung mga nandito and then, alam na nila yung mga gagawin. So, for those na bago pa lang, nire-remind ko lang sila. Or parang, ini-intro lang natin kung ano yung mga dapat gawin. Ayan po. So again, no, I would like to say thank you sa mga asynchronous learner natin for this oil. Ayan. So talaga naman gusto nila live. Target natin, mga-out ko lang yung video tayo, nakahit live, no? Ayan po. So in-next ko na po, sana po ma-back forward nyo lang kung hindi nakita yung link. Ayan, balik-balikan nyo lang. And then again, as you know, si Aerotech po ay kaisa sa global campaign ng Say No to Plastic Straw. Ayan po. So dito po, hindi lang kami more on mga ICT regular. We care also sa ating environment. Ayan po. That is why Aerotech is in favor in the campaign Say No to Plastic Straw. Ayan po. So hanggat maaari, kung hindi natin matanggal, ang dito po kay Aerotech, ang primary objective is hanggat maaari ma-lessen natin ang usage natin ng plastic. Bakit po? Bakit po ba, sir? Bakit kayo in favor? Ako ayoko, sir. Napaka-handy kasi ng plastic straw. Ngayon, sa amin kay Aerotech na niniwala kami kasi na dumadami din ang mga pollution. Siyempre, isa na rin to. Yung waste pollution natin nakakapag-contribute sa so, kung makikita niyo ating next slide, ayan, so yung plastic straw po kasi is isa sa mga single-use plastic. No? So, particularly, siyempre, may intake yan ng ating lamang dagat, or natin, minsan nakikira na parang nababara doon, and then yung mga kanal natin, yung ating other bodies of water, yung pollute, na which is hindi naman siguro ganun kaganda. Dahil ba kayo na polluted yung ating mga bodies of water, diba? Kung mapapansin nyo nga sa ibang bansa, no? Yung kanilang kanal or estero is talagang parang pwede nga eh, di ba? Parang pwedeng inumin sa sobrang puti or sa sobrang linis, no? Sa atin sa Pilipinas, medyo nakakalungkot yung mga common steros natin. Talaga namang hindi ganun kaganda tingnan. Yan, so, isa na rin yung plastic straw natin doon na nakakapag-contribute ng waste. And then, syempre, ang nakakalungkot na pupunta din sa dagat. Na-intake ng ating mga yamang dagat na nakatira. Mga isda natin, pagong, and other sea creatures natin na hindi naman nila deserving na ma-intake yun. No? Hindi naman nila pagkain yung plastic straw. Pero nakakain nila. Meron nga kami dyan mga previous example na intake ng isang pagong yung plastic straw sa ilong niya. So nahirapan yung mga advocate na i-extract yung straw na yun, na dumugo pa yung kanyang ilong. So nakakalungkot and alam mo na, di ba, parang as human dapat tayo, tayo yung nakakaalam, tayo dapat yung na to avoid those kind of incidents. Okay? So by this, we would like to encourage everyone to join our campaign by using or by using this hashtag, say no to plastic straw. We are all in this together. Kasi po kung kami lang, hindi po namin talaga kaya. Kailangan din po namin yung support ninyo. If you are a teacher, kailangan po namin support ninyo na i-empower yung ating mga students na to lessen yung usage ng ating bata. Kung hindi man natin matanggal totally, mas maganda hindi tayo mag-contribute, ma-lessen natin. And I believe every organization and our government also encourage us to use our reusable. Diba? Reusable spoon, reusable baonan, reusable fork, and of course, meron din tayo tinatawag na reusable straw. So, meron na ganun technology or tool na magagamit natin na pwede natin hugasan. Diba? Hindi ito common sa ating mga utensils, no? Pero meron na, no? So, please, first, I would like to encourage you to use the hashtag. Isa ba namin kayo? Marami na bang nag-hashtag stainless to plastic, no? Gusto ko pong makita yung mga hashtag natin na alam ko may mga kita kami. By this 1,000 na to, marami tayong mga isa dyan na sumasang-ayon o tuma-agree sa atin. If you are agree with me with the whole team ng EduTech, please, gusto kong makita ang iyong hashtag stay no to plastic. Kaya, isa ka namin, na-mention ko kanina yung reusable metal straw, no? So, introduce ko lang na parang ito yung ating alternative way para malasan niya yung ating plastic straw, no? Unang-una, we would like to encourage you, everyone, to use the reusable metal straw. So, sir, metal yan, baka kinakalawan. No, this metal straw is made of stainless steel, so 100% safe siya. So parang yung mga kutsara lang natin, stainless steel, no? So ganun lang din naman tong metal straw. Stainless siya, hindi siya kinakalawang. Ayan. And ang kagandahan dito, pwede mo siyang linis-linisin. Dishwasher safe siya, washable siya, ika nga. And then meron siyang kasama na brush na para yung mga loob niya malinis mo. And again, pwede mo siyang gamitin sa malamig, sa mainit. And I believe yung mga teachers natin gusto din para to relax their mind, di ba? Habang malamig. Ngayon, meron din tayo dyan kasama na boba straw. No, pwede siyang pang milk tea, yung mga mahilig mag-milk tea. Ayan po, so wala na kayong rason. Sir, hindi pwede pang milk tea yan kasi may sago yan. No, meron yung slices, yung boba, yung bent, ay yung straight. Ayan po. So, napakaganda nito. So, kung ayaw niyo yung ganitong color, yung elegant silver natin, meron tayo dyang mga other variation of colors. Ano po? Ayan. So, ayan, marami tayong variation of colors. Mamili na lang kayo. Bahala kayo mamili kung anong trip ng kulay. So, of course, meron tayo dyan yung silver. Meron tayong multicolor, metallic black. Ayan, yung mga astig na metallic black. Yung mga elegant gold natin, ceramic gold. Parang color pink po yan sa mga kababaihan. Siyempre, may mga ibang laking gusto ng pink. So, may ceramic gold tayo, pink po yan. Metallic gold, na mayroong ibang variation ng color, pero gold pa yan. Metallic red. White violet, yung color combination ng white and violet. Ceramic violet, na napakaganda na, napaka-cute para sa mga kababaihan. Metallic blue, ceramic blue, ceramic green. Cute din yung ceramic green. And yung white green natin, na medyo bago-bago yan, white green. Color combination ng white sa green. Ayan. So, paano ba magkaroon ng ganyan, sir? Ayan, to be honest, yung mga previous webinar namin, namigay kami ng ganyan. Ayan, sayang, di ka kasi umaatin ng live. So, kung di ka naka-attend, yung mga previous webinar namin, may parapol kami. So, this time, yun nga lang, medyo nakakalungkot sila tayo parapol. Walang budget, walang nag-sponsor si EduTech ngayon. So, ang maganda, sir, kung ano, saan ba bibili, saan ba pwede mag-avail na, saan ba pwede mag-order. Ngayon, nasa Shopee din kami. So, www.shopee.ph/EduTech. Kayo na po bahala doon. Kaso may konting problema kay Shopee. Yung mga deliveries medyo napepending. Kasi matagal kunin yung mga COD, lalo-lalo na. Pero if you want a faster transaction, or parang mabilisang delivery, PM mo lang si EduTech. Murang-mura lang yung silver niya, wala nang text na yung mga color, yung may mga colored or yung colors, may color variety of colors, 120 sa kanya. Unang-una, matutulungan na natin yung environment, global campaign. Pangalawa, matutulungan din si EduTech to, to continue yung kanyang mga free ICT webinars. So that maaari free ang lahat. So ito naman po ay optional. You may still attend, get your free ICT certificate without availing this. Ano po? So, sir, bibili kami yan, pero may e-certificate na ba? Hindi po kami ganon. Hindi namin maibibigay yung e-certificate by just availing this. So, mas maganda yung credibility, maintain natin. Yung mga e-certificate may mga unique identification yan. Kung hindi basta-basta yung mabadaya. You can also verify that number, the unique identification sa amin to check kung valid or legit ba yung webinar ay yung e-certificate. Baka mamaya ay dinaya lang, pinagkita. So hindi mo magagaya yung numbers na yun kasi unique po yun. Ayan. So again, no, this product is optional. And you may still attend kahit na wala ka nito, kahit di ka mag-avail. Pero for those na gustong tumulong, mag-support kay Eriotech, and of course, to join our campaign sa aming global campaign sa Say No to Plastic Straw, let us contribute by using this metallic straw, no? Instead of using the traditional straw natin. Ano po? Ayan po So, sana po makapag-avail kayo. Mura lang po. So, actually, mababa lang to compare sa market. Ano po? Ayan po. So, by that, maraming color. Message nyo na lang po si Eriotech, no? www.facebook.com/Eriotech. Yun lang po ang aming legit. Huwag po kayo sa peke. Now, let us proceed. Ayan. Hindi ko na po patatagalin. Let us now proceed sa ating introduction to our subject matter expert. Ayan. Yung ating subject matter expert po ay speaker po natin siya. So sa amin po kasi ang tawag namin subject matter expert. Ayan. So do not be confused kung ano ba yung subject matter expert. Okay? So again, introduce ko lang po ang ating subject matter for this morning. Ayan. Ayan po, medyo mabigat ang ating subject matter expert for this morning. He is a graduate of Doctor of Information Technology in University of the East Manila. Ayan. So talaga namang credible yung ating subject matter expert. And of course, he is also a graduate of Master of Science in Engineering major in Computer Engineering, so MSc. Yan po ang ating matter expert. So talaga namang kami tayo matututunan. Of course, yung kanyang undergraduate course, ano din? He is also a graduate of Bachelor of Science in Secondary Education. To be exact, meron siyang 24 units doon, major in Mathematics. And of course, graduate din siya ng Bachelor of Science in Computer Engineering. Talaga naman, Computer Engineering ang ating subject matter po, expert this morning. And of course, this morning, kasama din natin siya. And he also belongs or faculty member ng ating University of the East Caloocan. So present dun po siya. And of course, meron din po siyang 11 years of experience sa basic education. So marami na rin siya experience, like former college professor din siya sa City of Malabon University, wherein I am proud doon ako graduate. So, and I am also proud that he is my former college professor. So talaga namang mentor ko siya. Kung medyo napabilib kita sa mga webinars ko, mas mapapabilib ka ng aking former college professor, I believe. Ayan. So, hindi ko na patatagalin. I-introduce ko po ang ating subject matter expert for this morning. Ayan po. Please, all welcome. Bigyan natin ng virtual clap si Dr. Nelson Rodela, a Doctor of Information Technology. Ayan. Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Ayan po. Hello po. Sir. Ayan, talaga namang bigatin ng ating subject matter expert. So talaga namang medyo marami tayong skills na malalaman sa kanya. Ayan. Excited na ako, to-be-exact. Okay, to be honest. Sino ba excited na? So, umakita yung mga, sir, marami ko gusto makita ganyan na. Talaga namang excited. Please, give him a virtual clap or a death clap for those na nanonood sa atin. Sir, ibigay ko na ang floor. Take over nyo na po.
Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Ang dami pong nanonood. This is my first time having a webinar. At hello po sa mga teachers. Hello po sa mga admins. Hello po sa inyong lahat. Bear with me. No, medyo kinakabahan ako. It's my first time. So, umpisa na natin.
Following orders. Sir, yes, sir. You called, sir. Sir, yes, sir. Payback. What now? Executing your orders, sir. Whatever you want, we'll be. As you command, so shall it be. Sir, yes, sir.
What do you require?
You called, sir.
What do you require?
The squig is loose. Clear out, boys. I've been overrun. Use the frags.
Where is his will needed?
Tremble before.
Habang hinihintay natin yung PowerPoint, hello po sa mga taga-Navotas. Alam ko po meron po mga nanonood na taga-Navotas. Hello po sa inyo. Yung iba po dyan, teacher ko pa po nung high school. Hello po. Kung nanonood sa San Roque National High School, hello po sa inyo. Governor Andres Pascual College, hello po sa inyo. Kung may nanonood man po.
I shall see to it personally, sir.
What do you require?
You called, sir. You called, sir.
So, our discussion for today is all about a practical guide to data mining for teachers. Okay? It is also known as traditional data mining. No, na-inspire lang ako na magbigay ng talk about data mining for teachers because as our moderator said, no, galing din ako sa pagiging isang guro sa elementary at high school. No, naranasan ko po yan for 11 years at sobrang dami pong data ang makukuha po natin dito. Sobrang daming data. No, from the profile of the students to their grades, to their behaviors, lahat po doon puro data na pwede po natin gamitin. Na hindi po natin alam na tinatabi lang po natin siya, pero ngayon po ay pwede na po natin siyang gamitin. So, hello po ulit. Sana po, disclaimer lang po, no, ito po ang discussion ko po ay intended po not only for teachers, but also doon sa mga gustong makinig about data mining. Bibigyan ko po kayo ng background, paano po gagamitin ang data mining, kung saan po siya pwedeng gamitin. But we will focus more on how to use data for teachers. Okay? So, again, I'm Nelson C. Rodelas. I'm from Navotas. I'm Navoteño, proud Navoteño, and I'm a college professor at University of the East Caloocan, a graduate of Doctor of Information Technology. Our agenda for today is, first is the importance of data mining in education. We will discuss that. What is the importance of data mining in education? Napaka-importante ng data mining sa education. And second, pag nalaman na natin what is the importance of data mining in education, then we will define what is data mining. We have to define it para clear sa utak natin as teachers, bakit kailangan nating mag-data mining. Okay? Third is, we will discuss also knowledge discovery on database. No? Napaka-technical nung word na database, no? Pero actually, as teacher, meron na tayong sariling database. No, mamaya i-discuss natin kung ano yung mga sarili nating database na akala natin ay technical lang yung database na sinasabi ko. Pero meron pala tayo as teachers. And then after that, we will discuss what are the data mining techniques or task ano ang mga techniques or tasks na pwedeng gamitin or gawin ng mga teachers, no, para na magkaroon tayo ng new knowledge discovery. Okay? And third one, so kung gusto nyo pa or because of this introduction, nagkaroon tayo ng interest, no, sa pag-aaral ng data mining as professionals at the same time as teachers, gusto nating i-explore pa ano ang mga pwede nating gamitin for data mining bukod sa Excel. Ipapaliwanag ko rin sa inyo yung mga different programming languages for data mining or yung mga software na pwede nating gamitin para tayo ay magkaroon ng data or makapag-mine ng data. And then the third one, which is our part, the last one, which is our part 2, is Excel dashboard for teachers. I'm going to teach you, no, yung dashboard or yung pinaka-dashboard ng isang teacher na pwede rin nating mapakinabangan as we move along doon sa pag-mine natin ng data. Okay? So, I hope na excited na kayo kasi ako, excited ako. So, sobrang excited ko. Napakadaming preparation ang ginawa ko, no? Sobrang dami ng preparation, na-delay siya ng delay. Patawad po dahil ako po ang may kasalanan kung bakit po na-delay yung time. Dapat po isang linggo pa po ata ito. Ako po may kasalanan pero itiyakin ko po na po itong discussion po natin. So, pure discussion muna po tayo and then after that, we will have the part 2 na kung saan kayo naman po ang gagawa together with me. Okay po? So, let's start. So, the first thing that we have to discuss is the importance of data mining and education. Actually, hindi natin namamalayan na nagmamine na tayo ng data as teachers. Okay? Hindi natin namamalayan na yung ginagawa pala natin as teachers ay nagmamine na tayo kasi naiintindihan na natin na itong batang ito ay matalino, itong batang ito ay kailangan ng improvement, itong batang ito ay kailangan ng guidance. So, paano mo nalalaman yung mga bagay na yun? Yung mga bagay na yun ay nalalaman natin because of data, because of the information that's gathered on a particular data. No? Doon pa lang, alam na natin na nagmamay na tayo ng data at tayo ay isa ring data analyst. Okay? As teachers, we are also data analysts kasi one of the factor para ikaw ay isang maging data analyst ay to know how to mine data. At as teachers, alam na po natin kung paano mag-mine ng data. Yun nga lang, hindi natin ma-organize kung paano siya i-mine or paano siya i-organize mismo yung mga datang nakukuha natin. And in this course, or in this webinar, I hope na matutunan natin yan ngayon. Now, before we discuss the importance of data, let us discuss what is data. No? We all know that data is everywhere and it's expanding exponentially. When we say expanding exponentially, talagang to the highest exponent ang pag-expand ng data. Just like for example, as a teacher, yung mga data na nakukuha natin, sa isang iglap meron na tayong 50 students at yung 50 students na yun ay sobrang dami na ng datang nabibigay natin. Hindi lang naman 50 students, isang klase lang yung klase natin, 50, no? Sa public school nga umaabot pa ng 60 pero ngayon ata hindi na po pwede yun, no? So kung titignan mo, kung meron kang 5 subject, for example, no, at 50 yun, no, you have 250 na kaagad sa isang buong taon. Sa akin, madami na yung data na yun. Ilang taon ka nang nagtuturo, no? Yung school mo ay ilang taon nang nakatayo dyan. So, napakadami ng dumaan na estudyante, napakadami ng dumaan na profile. So, therefore, napakadami mo ng data, no? Libo-libo na yung data na meron ka. Okay? At ngayon, yung mga data natin, high-tech na, no? Nakikita na natin siya or nailalagay na natin siya sa computer. As teachers, we are required na yung lahat ng mga data natin ay nakalagay na sa computer. Meron na nga tayong advocate ngayon na yung mga data na nakukuha natin ay paperless na. No, when we say paperless, lahat ng data natin ay nilalagay na natin sa computer, which is also known as database. no, merong isang software na nilalagay natin sa computer natin para yung mga data natin ilalagay natin doon. Now, data is being generated for multiple sources and in multiple format, no? So, sa estudyante, no, ano ba ang mga makukuha nating data? Unang-una, profile, age, gender, no? We have the civil status, we have the citizenship, kung meron tayong mga estudyanteng nasa ibang bansa, no? Meron din tayong makukuhang mga data ng grades, behavior sa ating guidance counselor, ang daming data dyan. So, napakadami, sobrang dami sa educational setup pa lang, napakadami ng data nating makukuha. Now, ano-ano ba yung mga data na nakukuha natin? What are the structures of this data? No? Now, we have 4 structures of our data. The first one is the structured data that has defined data types, format, and structures. Meaning to say, alam na natin that this is a number, ito ay pinagsama-samang number. Alam na natin na ito ay pinagsama-samang text. Alam na natin na ito'y pinagsama-samang picture. Alam na natin na ito'y pinagsama-samang mga components. Okay? So these are structured. Naka-structure na siya. Then we have also what we call semi-structured. When we say semi-structured, textual data files with a noticeable pattern enabling parsing. Okay? The third one is the quasi-structured or textual data with erratic data or hindi natin alam kung anong data format yan. Basta nandyan siya sa database natin, hindi natin alam kung anong data format yan, halo-halo na siya. Text lang siya pero meron siyang counterpart na mga structured data. And the last one is the unstructured data. Data that has no inherent structures and is usually stored as different types of files. Meron .doc, .ppp, .xls, napakadaming dot yan, yung PDF, no, PNG, JPG. So those are unstructured data na pinagsama-sama. Okay? So I hope that you understand this data at naiisip nyo na kaagad sa inyong school ano-ano ba ang mga data na nakukuha mo sa school, no? At saan ko ba inilalagay lahat yan? No? Saan ko ba nilalagay ang mga data na yan? Kung saan-saan ko lang pala na nilalagay. So ngayon dito sa course na ito, makikita natin na dapat, no, iniipon natin itong mga data na to dahil sabi nga sa IT, no, sabi nga ang data ay isang form ng gold. Mamaya papaliwanag ko sa inyo ano yung isang form ng gold na sinasabi ko. Now, let us define what is data mining. For financial data, it can be used to find out if any of the transactions are fraudulent. Ibig sabihin, kapag meron kang transaction sa bangko or meron kang pera na transaction sa isang company, pwede mo gamitin ang data mining para malaman mo kung may fraud bang nangyayari ito sa financial data mo. We have also email data. It is used to check how many of the mails are spam. Okay. So those are email data. We have the telecom data. It is used to find out how many of the customers will churn out. Okay? Sino yung ayaw na sa Globe or ayaw na sa PLDT. Because of this, humihina ba ang pag-subscribe ng mga tao sa telecom? No? Saan ba sila mas madaming nagsasubscribe? Yun po ang magagamit natin sa data mining. And lastly, we have the school or student data. It is used to plan for strategies implemented for student. Actually, it's not only for student. It is also for the administration and for the improvement of the school and the teachers. Okay, later on, madidiscuss natin yan. Now, sabi dito, bigay lang tayo ng konting research. According to Romero and Ventura, 2010, categorized the 4 stakeholders according to their objectives for using educational data mining. So, 4 daw po ang nakikinabang dito sa educational data mining. The first one are the learners. It doesn't mean na kapag sinabi nating learners ay student na po yan. Even as teachers, as professors, we are also learners. Lalo na ngayon sa pandemic na season na ito, no? We are all learners. Alam ko po, nararamdaman ko po kayo as teachers na sobrang dami po ang ginagawa po natin ngayon, no? Ba't yung ginagawa natin na yan? Alam ko gumagawa kayo ng module, okay? Alam ko gumagawa kayo ng portfolio. So these are data, no? Learners are optimizing individual learning styles, no? Learning materials and learning experiences or recommending them. So yun po ang magiging pakinabang ng learners, no? For educators, analyzing students' learning behaviors. Sino ba dito ang madaling mapagod sa pag-aaral? Sino ba dito ang very energetic, no? Sino ba dito ang kailangan ng guidance? So, because of this data mining, no, makikita natin ano ang maitutulong nito sa mga educators na katulad natin. Ito po ang isa pa napaka-importante, which is the researchers and developers. No, as teachers, we should be also a researcher or developer. Yan pong ginagawa natin sa data mining. For example, pag-aralan natin isang buong taon ng performance ng ginagawa natin as teachers, no? Pwede mo pong gawing research yan. Okay? Because of this